Hey there, Comic Clan, and welcome to Comics in the Cross. This is issue number 14, and we, of course, are Comics in the Cross, the greatest streamers you have never heard of. I am one of your hosts for today, Cross, along as always with my partner in crime, Nitro.
What's up, everybody?
Hey, and to the chat, thank you for everyone that's already joining us. What's up, Batman? What's up, Jay Sanchez? Thank you guys for coming along and being part of this. I hope you're able to hear that music, because like last week we had issues with that where I accidentally muted everything. I think everything went without a hitch today, which I don't know if that scares me more than anything. Like usually we have hitches at the start, and today's actually going pretty smooth. So
Yeah, we legitimately fixed all of our issues in less than 30 seconds. It was fantastic.
yeah,
Change of pace.
yeah, it's a good change. You know, usually if you've not been in the chat before, we tend to have technical issues like 30 minutes before we start. So
Every week.
it's nice to not have that this week. So for you guys that are joining us, thank you. You're actually catching us at the start of a 3-part series we're going to be doing. We are going to be taking a look back at the early 2000s superhero movies. This week, we're going to be starting off, obviously, with Sam Raimi's Spiderman Trilogy, and possibly the superhero series that started everything, that started off the superhero trend that we've got going currently.
Yep.
And these are all pre-MCU movies as well, so it's going to be interesting to see how, looking back and seeing how they looked prior to the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Yeah, it's going to be a cool change.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting, man. I'm hyped for this.
I'm super excited. I'm super excited.
Before we jump into that, just a little bit of housekeeping as always. First of all, right above my co-host there, you can see our sponsor, Gamer Grind Co., the #1 coffee for gamers. Hashtag on that grind. I'm going to drop a link in the chat for that. If you want to go ahead and get some amazing coffee, then please, by all means, go ahead and click on that link. You will not be disappointed by the flavors of the coffee. I have loved them every single month. I get a monthly subscription of it now, and it's absolutely amazing. The coffee just tastes so good. If you want a good one to start with, go for Headshot. That is still, to date, my favourite one. I just love it. Nice, strong coffee. And when I've got 2 kids and one on the way, you need it.
Yeah, you really need it. Just
really
a gallon of it.
Hey, Infinity Bro's in the house, and I'm eating right now, but I had to stop by and say hi. Hey, I'm assuming it's Isaac, because usually when Infinity Bros pop in, it's Isaac. If you want to check out the episode where Isaac was actually on the show, make sure you hit up our YouTube channel for that.
Yeah.
I'm going to throw that in the chat as well. But for our sponsor as well, yep, if you go there, click on that link, make sure you use Comics and the Cross to save 5% on your order. Pick yourself up some good coffee, as well as getting the Comics and the Cross coffee mug and sticker. You know, you want stickers to put in places, we got you covered. I know how there's a massive outcry for that right now for stickers. You know, that's what's going to get us through the issues that are going on right now is stickers.
We will beat COVID-19 with stickers.
Yep, there you go, man. We'll beat them all with stickers. That's how we do it. Also, as well, if you're wanting some merchandise to rep Comics in the Cross and show that you're part of the comic clan, I need to change the thing for this because I've got it as merchandise, and like trying to type merchandise quick while you're talking doesn't work. But that
merch.
Yeah, I'm gonna need to change it to merch because like typing merchandise quickly is not working for me. But
Dude, I'm a horrible speller, so I would just murder it every time.
So that's our Teespring store. You can go there and pick up the Comics in the Cross T-shirt. You can get a variety of colours, variety of sizes. Although for some reason I went to like check them, and like one of the blues you can only get like 2 sizes on it. I have no idea why. I don't know if they're out of stock of stuff right now, but
we're just that popular, Ross.
Yeah, that's it, man. So you can go get your
leggings.
Yeah, you can go that. You can get a pair of leggings. You can get a hoodie, and you can get the poster from the Square Go episode. It's about a month ago now. Nitro did up a Square Go poster, so you can go and check that out. Also as well, if you do feel like sponsoring us financially, you can of course sub to the channel if you choose to. You can use your Amazon Prime to sub to that, or you can use the lowest level, which is $4.99 a month. Or if you feel like following us on our Patreon and supporting us that way, you can click on that link and support us for as low as $2 a month. 6 different tiers on that. Each of them obviously comes with different things. But you want to throw a couple of bucks our way and keep the podcast going, we greatly appreciate it. As we say every week, though, that is not a necessity. I want to mention it because, yeah, I never mentioned the Patreon because nobody went on it, and then we got a supporter on Patreon. I'm like, oh crap, I should start mentioning this more. Alright. So one of the big things that everyone is looking for this week, before we delve into our topic and we delve into news, is this is a last Sunday for the giveaway. Next Sunday we will be announcing the winner of our giveaway. If you do not know what the giveaway is, There's no giveaway. There is a giveaway. Why are you telling me there's no giveaway?
How dare you, Stream Elements?
Yeah, Stream Elements is jumping in. I tried to mess a bit with Nightbot and see if we could use Stream Elements. So Stream Elements thinks it's got priority now. So as you can see, Nightbot's popped up with something, and Stream Elements went, "No, you've not got that."
Stream Elements is trying to kneecap Nightbot.
Yeah, so apparently this is going to be the issue for the week, is I've got Stream Elements up fighting with Nightbot.
We got some drama. Between Stream Elements and Nightbot.
Especially considering by next week we'll have neither of them, because I'm using a totally different one I'm currently setting up for us. So this is going to be fun, apparently. But we are doing a giveaway, contrary to Stream Elements' beliefs. We are giving away an amazing original art piece from Nitro he has been working on. It's going to feature 30 Batman busts from a variety of different people who have wore the Bat costume from different universes, different storyline, cartoons. He's going all out with this. He's been working on this for a while. We are officially closing the day on the 30th, so you have 2 more days to either sub to the channel or to become a Patreon. This is a giveaway that's going to be for subs and Patreons, and that's literally, you can go in with an Amazon Prime sub, you can come in with the $4.99 sub, or you can hit us on Patreon for $2 to be part of this giveaway. Whoever's on those right now, we have 2 people on it. If you want to become part of that, we will be doing a live drawing next week. And here is the bus. Let me put it up. This is the updated one that Nitro has sent me. It's still got 2 Batmen to be added. There's going to be 30 in all. There's 28 on it currently. Because each of these is super detailed, he's been working his backside off to make this. So this is the current giveaway. This is what it looks like.
Yeah, just a heads up. Each one of those takes anywhere from 30 minutes to an hour, so that's a lot of time.
Yeah. So he's been putting a lot of work into this, and I honestly, what I've got on here for Stream Elements isn't probably doing it justice. Like, the picture's a lot better high resolution than what's popping up for that.
And the poster's going to be 16 by 20, so it's humongous.
Yeah, this is going to be a big picture. It's high resolution. It's got all the different Batmen on it. I can see on there we've got, like, you know, the old school Neil Adams Batman, the original Batman, Adam West Batman. We've got Lego Batman, Jim Gordon, Dick Grayson, Dark Knight, Ninja Batman, Azrael Batman, the Batman Who Laughs, Red Death. You know,
Red Death is probably one of my favorites.
Yeah, that's such a cool outfit. But, like, there are so many on there, and this is going to be a giveaway. And whoop, I need to learn what to click. I really do. I keep hitting the wrong things. But yeah, so we're giving that away. Next week we'll be choosing our winner. And the reason we're doing it for people who either sub or people who are Patreons is literally because Nitro has been putting so much work into this. Like, this man's still working. This man's got a family to take care of. He's got young kids, and he's taking part of his Sunday to come on here and ramble with me for a couple of hours. But he's also still doing this on the side as well. And it was his idea to do it. We didn't ask him to do a giveaway. He said, "I'm going to do this and do it as a giveaway." So I want to do it just as an honouring to him, because he has put so much work into this, and it's a piece that would cost a fair bit of money, and, you know, you're getting it for not that much.
Yeah, and it's almost wrapped up, so we got 2 more left. I'll probably do some rearranging to it, make sure everything is unified and looks good, and it'll be done. So
yeah, so if he gets that to me before next week's stream, I'll go ahead and post it on social media, just so you guys can see what the finished product's going to look like, so you know exactly what you're getting. But yeah, so if you want to be part of that, just either sub to the channel or hit us up on Patreon, and you will be added to that list of people who have got the ability to win that, and we'll be choosing that next week.
Yep.
Alright, so before we delve into our big topic for today, let's hit up on some news, because there's actually been some big bits of news this week. Let me pull it up. Alright, so I'm going to leave that until kind of like the end. Alright, so first of all, let's talk about this, because we kind of mentioned this last week, and we kind of talked about, you know, the rumours around this Flash movie and what was going to be happening with that. Rumours were really out there about Jeffrey Dean Morgan being in talks about playing Flashpoint Batman.
Yeah.
Out of nowhere, apparently Michael Keaton is in talks to come back to play Batman in the Flash movie.
Yeah, that got me.
Where the heck did that come from?
I have no clue.
He wasn't even running. Like, he's always been a fan of having played Batman. He's always referenced it and stuff. It's not, you know, it's not like he was ever against coming back. There was petitions out there for him to play the older Bruce Wayne in a Batman Beyond movie, which I'm still all for if he's up for that.
Yeah, so I follow a couple, like, comic book inside news channels on Twitter, and they keep posting images of Kingdom Come Batman. But I've also heard that he is actually coming back, and he's going to be donning his original outfit. That being said, I don't know how they're going to do this. Like, I have no idea what they're going to do or how they're going to do it, because
I mean, if it's
almost like 70, like he's not almost 70, but he's pushing some age.
Yeah. And we've got some chat, and that'd be awesome though. It's like, yeah, I mean, like, I'm all out for Michael Keaton coming back. I don't know how they're going to do it. Like, I know Flashpoint Batman's a lot more of a grizzled Batman, but I'm like, he's not. You're talking maybe 50s,
yeah,
early 60s, and Keaton's starting to kind of push it on. So it'd be interesting to see if he could do that.
Well, yeah, I mean, they had I know people remember this, but they had a throwaway line in, I think it was Justice League. Alfred was talking to Batman. He was talking about how life was much simpler when there was exploding penguins or exploding whatever. Yeah. So, like, they
hey, Ads, thank you for coming along, and thank you for the host, brother. We appreciate it, as always. Thank you for joining us today.
So they referenced the Burtonverse in Zack Snyder's Batman. So, like, it's obviously at least semi-canon. So I think there's going to be some sort of multiverse-ish quality to this Michael Keaton thing, and I just don't know how they're gonna play it.
Well, that's it. The good question for that as well is, like, is it going to just be another multiverse Batman? It's like, obviously the big talk was Jeffrey Dean Morgan as Flashpoint Batman, who's literally the only Batman that really shows up in the story apart from Bruce, like, right at the end.
Yeah.
It's like Jeffrey Dean Morgan playing it would make sense because he played Thomas Wayne, obviously, and Flashpoint Batman's Thomas Wayne.
Yeah.
Is it just going to be another multiverse Batman, or are they going to bring him in as Thomas Wayne Batman, or are they going to, like... Because I don't know what they're doing. They've said they're using Flashpoint, like, very loosely, so I don't know what Flashpoint's going to look like. I don't know.
I feel like DC has a really good grasp of their multiverse. I feel like Marvel has a multiverse, and it's cool, and it brings some cool elements in, but I think DC, that's a foundation for DC.
Oh yeah, DC's all about it. Any of the big events in DC, if you want to look at, like, pretty much any big event, it's all been multiverse related.
Yeah.
Like, literally, Crisis on Infinite Earth got rid of the multiverse, Infinite Crisis brought it back. You know, it's like Flashpoint messed with the timelines and brought back Rebirth, reset everything. Even in the comics now, it's very much like oh, do you think that existed in canon? Why not?
I just think...
Maybe it did, maybe it didn't. You know?
I think if they're smart, because you have people that like Batman versus Superman, but you have people that like the Tim Burton Batmans. Then you have people that like the Dark Knight Batmans. I just think if DC is smart, they play their cards right, there is a really cool opportunity to like a threaded multiverse here. If, again,
the interesting thing,
gotta make sure they do it right.
Well, that's the interesting thing I was thinking about, because people were talking a lot about it. Like, they've already hinted at multiverse with the DCEU Flash, because Ezra Miller's Flash appeared on the Flash TV show during the Crisis on Infinite Earths event. He met face to face with Grant Gustin's Flash.
Yeah.
Like, and he was like, it was Ezra Miller on set, full Flash attire from Justice League.
Justice League outfit, yeah.
It's like, so they've already heavily hinted at that there's this massive multiverse. So,
yeah.
I mean, I'm all for it. Going over to the chat, yeah, it's like Jay Sanchez. It's just a rumor at the moment, that he's in talks. There's nothing officially been announced for him being in the Flash movie. It's just rumors at this time. He's in discussion. And they should do Batman Beyond. Yeah, like, that's my big one for me. Like, I think I'm pulling with everyone. Like, he needs to play the old grizzled Bruce Wayne from Batman Beyond in a live action. And it would definitely make money.
Yeah.
I always thought in Flashpoint Thomas Wayne became Batman, so Keaton doesn't really make sense. Grant needs to replace Ezra.
I don't know, man. I like Ezra as the Flash.
Oh,
I know a lot of people don't.
No,
I know
you don't.
a lot of people
no,
don't.
You don't.
I do.
No.
I do. All right. Let me just rephrase what I just said. So I like him as the Flash. I don't like the way that he was written in Justice League. I don't like some of his dialogue.
But basically, there was one character in the movie that was basically handed to Joss Whedon and went, "Here, write everything he's going to say," because like that character literally was written by Joss Whedon.
Yeah, so that's exactly why I don't like the dialogue.
It's like, no. I mean, I love Grant Gustin's Flash. Don't get me wrong, I'm getting fed up with the TV show. It's dragging on a bit now. Like, it's like, okay, you do something different. You're really not. You're doing the exact same thing. And I agree, Batman, like, you know, I love the Thomas Wayne Batman, but this movie has said it's very loosely following Flashpoint. So, like, literally, Flash is probably going to go back in time, save his mom, change the timeline like he does. But, like, what happens when he does that is probably up in the air at this point. It's probably, like, completely all up in the air.
I just, like, going back to what I was saying, though, like, I really feel like DC has a really cool opportunity to not only set itself apart from the MCU as far as how they approach their movies, but bring in all these different pockets of fandom and coalesce them into an entire like mega fan base. You know
Oh
what I'm
yeah, I
saying?
mean
Like you
everyone's
have the
got
Christopher
something to
Nolan,
love. Yeah.
yeah, you have the Christopher Nolan fans, like diehard Christopher Nolan fans. You have the Tim Burton fans. You have the new Joker fans, Joaquin Phoenix, who would
Joe the
love
Joe
for him to be tied.
Joe Schumacher fans, R.I.P. Joe Schumacher,
Yeah, bat nipples. What? Sorry, flag for that.
and Batbutt. Don't
But
forget the Batbutt.
somebody posted a GIF of that on Twitter, and they said, "Man, them cheeks slapped." But anyways, sorry, I thought that was funny. But yeah, they have an opportunity to make a like a huge fan base and just coalesce everybody who might have different opinions on their favorite Batman, favorite like movie thread, all that stuff, and just they could squash the MCU.
Oh yeah, see
Not
if
that I
they
want to see that happen, but
see if they had the resources to pull it together. Like they could put together such an amazing multiverse. Like all the different TV shows, you could do the CW TV shows, the DC Universe TV shows, the stuff that's preparing for HBO Max, the old movies, the old Batman and Superman movies, the even the Green Lantern movie. That you could pull everything together. The DCEU, you could literally pull everything together. Like Crisis on Infinite Earths, like the CW's Crisis on Infinite Earths tried it, and
fell flat.
it just fell flat because it was literally cameos. They had a 5-episode thing. They knew what their story was and went, hey, let's get random cameos. They had freaking, what's his face, Burt Ward, that played Robin in the Adam West Batman series, as a random cameo.
Had him walking his dog?
Yeah. Had him walking his dog. The person who got the most airtime that was a cameo was literally Tom Welling from Smallville, Superman from Smallville.
Yeah.
He got a lot longer than anyone else, but like that was it. Even then, it was like 10 minutes. None of them were a major factor. Like all the main characters that had to like save the universe were all CW characters, and I'm like, why didn't you have it be like Michael Keaton's Batman and Tom Welling's Superman and Brandon Routh's Superman and like all these characters we wanted to see? Bring in randomers like that. I don't want to see just the CW characters. That's not the draw for this event.
Theatrical ones. Like that was why it was cool when they brought in Ezra Miller. I was like, oh shoot, they're really crossing over.
They did that. That was the biggest shock of it because like I don't know how they kept that quiet. Let me
That says we need a new Teen Titans.
Yes, 100%.
So I didn't see the one. So I didn't see them. Oh, was it Teen Titans, the one that they came out with like a couple years ago, and it was like Robin, or no, I forgot who it was.
Yeah, Titans.
Jason
like
Todd said, yeah, it was called Titans. That's it.
Yeah, and it was like Dick Grayson went F Batman.
Edgy. Yeah, I was like, oh,
and I'm like, everyone's like, oh, and I'm like,
I know.
Really? And I'm like, I've personally not seen Titans. I don't have the DCU app. I'm not paying that amount of money for that when it looks like everything's heading to HBO Max anyway. Like they literally announced Harley Quinn's going to be on HBO Max. Like so they have literally a show that's not on.
But how long
there.
will it be on HBO Max? Is the question.
Oh, Harley Quinn forever.
Well, I'm talking about all their DC stuff, which they pitched to promote HBO Max.
Oh, I got sent something from sent from us from Max from the Infinity Bros. And it's a thing like basically they've extended the amount of DC stuff that's on there for a longer period of time. Like, because guess what? It's popular and people like it, so why get rid of it?
And my thing is, like, you were using that as a selling point to promote HBO Max, and then you're just going to take it off after less than a year? That doesn't make sense.
Anyway, let me wrap up the chat here with it. So Batman says, I'd like to see another standard Flash movie before Flashpoint. Me too. Flashpoint is like, I think they're too early for that. Like, the DCU characters need to be expanded themselves. Like, I want to see a Flash movie about Flash before it's him.
I want to see a theatrical origin story for Flash.
Yeah, because we've never seen that. Like, he's already established, and I'm like, okay, yeah, Batman and Superman we know, but we've never seen Flash on the screen like that.
Yeah,
so.
like, I mean, how many times did they do Spiderman and Batman's origin story? I feel like we can do the Flash's origin story, and I don't know much about Wally West. I mean, I know Barry Allen's backstory. Whoever they choose, whatever, it doesn't matter. Like, they could do a backstory for the Flash, and it wouldn't, like, be old and tired and retreading old stuff, I don't think, too much.
No, and then Batman says, well, even more time as Ezra as Flash. Like, yeah, I feel like I could get to like the character if we see it more. Jay Sanchez says, hashtag Harley Quinn and Flash should go to the big screen. It's long overdue. Yeah. I mean, even this movie has been in like development, purgatory for how long at this point. It's like either make it or don't. Alright, so we're going to move on from that because I don't want to spend too much time talking. The next big announcement from this week was we got some literal trailers and literal game footage from the upcoming Avengers movie, which is dropping in September, I believe it was.
Avengers game.
The Avengers game, yeah, sorry. To clarify
We're getting a new Avengers movie.
I wish, man. I'm like, I'd jump on that right away. But yeah, we're getting the Avengers game that's coming out. We got a bit more story reveal for it. We got a bit more gameplay for it. We got a bit more insight into it. So the main villains we were talking about just before stream are going to be MODOK and AIM, Advanced Idea Mechanics, which is like the break off science division that was part of Hydra at one point, like their own thing. They all run around in yellow suits now, and are literally led by a floating head in a chair.
I'm so glad they picked the best villains in the MCU. Period.
People complain about the villains in the MCU, and it's like it could be worse.
Yeah.
So apparently the storyline for this as well is that the Avengers aren't together at this point. Like they've been responsible for something horrible that happened, and people have turned on them. So like they're not even together. So it's like it's literally Miss Marvel, who's a figurehead of this story because it's focused around the Inhumans, who's approached by MODOK before he's MODOK. I've literally forgot the character's name.
Yeah, I don't know a whole lot about him.
But like when he's still human, head of AIM, because he's wanting to bring her in to help him with stuff that he's planning with helping better mankind, and what he's basically doing is experimenting on Inhumans. So she goes and like gets together the Avengers team to take it on, and we see a little bit of strife between them, a little bit of issues because they're coming back together for the first time in a long time. Like the main like gameplay I saw was of Thor, and like everyone's shocked to see Thor because like Thor's been gone for so long and he comes out of nowhere. That's his name, George Tarleton. I did write it down. It was in my notes. See, this is why I write stuff down in my notes. So that's MODOK.
Oh, MODOK, got it.
So she decides. Description of the story trailer: these people around the world have turned their back on the Avengers. Miss Marvel must reassemble her role models while facing AIM's leader George Tarleton, who has his own vision for the future. So we saw some gameplay footage, we saw some story. So how you feeling on this, Nitro?
I'll be straight up, man. I really, really want to like this game because I feel like an open world Marvel-based game is way overdue. But
oh yeah.
That being said, I cannot for the life of me get over the horrible character design and horrible facial animation that they've been working on for apparently years.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't help when you look. Get over that. It doesn't help when you look at games that are currently out that have got such better graphics. Like I've literally been watching playthroughs of The Last of Us 2.
Yeah.
And the game is like so beautiful. It's so well done, and you're like, Avengers has been getting worked on for so long. Why is it not at that stage? I mean, and I'm sorry. Can I just bring up something for the gameplay? It might be because they're on a helicarrier, and it's like the helicarrier's going down. That's where the fight takes place. It's on the helicarrier for S.H.I.E.L.D. And it's going down. So that might be why the camera angle starts getting weird. But like literally, it seems to be level on Thor, and whenever he goes to do attack, the camera goes like that, or like that, and I'm like, is it because it's moving? Like they show they're fighting on this thing that's going down, or is the camera angle just moving really weird, like for no reason?
So I've watched like an hour or two of the actual gameplay footage of this, and I can say I really like the way that they did Hulk. Like I really like the way that he fights. I like the dynamic slow motion when he jumps in the air and smashes stuff. It's really cool. Again, man, I cannot get over some of the, like, I'm thinking specifically of Thor and Black Widow. Just their hair and their face, the way that they're moving, I'm like, that's like nightmare fuel.
Yeah.
But I do feel like there is an opportunity for them to like release, do the nickel and dime people after you buy the game. We'll have all these expansion packs and you have all these outfits.
I have no doubt. I have no doubt. I'm like, if you've seen downloadable stuff that came out like when DC did Injustice and stuff, like I see the same for Marvel. Like, hey, expand your Avengers team. These characters are now available for download. They're DLC.
Dude, they would make bank. Ad said, I wish they would make a non-Lego version of Lego Marvel with all the characters. I agree. That's
I wish too. Like, why they not? Because like my thing is like Avengers would be fine. Avengers looks like a decent game. Like I'm definitely going to probably get it. It's coming out in PC, so I'm going to get a chance to get it and play it. Because apparently I'm a PC gamer now because I've not touched my Xbox and I don't know how long.
How dare you?
I know. But yeah, so it's like I'm definitely going to get it. I'm definitely going to play it and try it out. I'll probably even do it on stream a little bit. But
I'm getting it too. I'll be straight up.
I think it would be fine if we hadn't had the Batman Arkham games and the Spider-Man game.
The Spider-Man game especially, because that is a hardcore open world game and it looks beautiful.
That's insanely open world. Like literally one of the best Spider-Man games in the world was Spider-Man 2. and they somehow took that and merged it with Batman Arkham games and made this amazing Spider-Man game. Like, and literally, like, and then, like, I just remember the hype when they announced at the PlayStation 5 that Miles Morales was getting his game, which definitely deserved, long overdue.
Yeah.
I'm glad he's getting recognition now. And then you look at the Avengers game, and I'm like, it feels clunky.
Yeah, super clunky. And I just looking at the gameplay with Thor, and like he's got Mjolnir, and he's punching humans, and they're not immediately dying. They're just like falling on the ground. I'm like, how is that possible? Like, he should legitimately be destroying humans.
Yeah, I'm like, you've got him and Hulk literally running about that upper deck. I'm like, why is that thing still in one piece?
Yeah.
Like, there's two of the most powerful people in the Marvel Universe, not even the Avengers in the Marvel Universe.
I do dig some of the Iron Man stuff was pretty cool, like how, flying and all that stuff.
Yeah, it's like there's been some sweet stuff. You get to play some of the different characters, they've got different powers and stuff, and I'm like, I'm excited for Miss Marvel to be getting a push. It sucks that it's because of the whole Inhumans thing, but I'm excited to see what happens with it.
One thing that I did hear, though, is if you do get it for, like, PS4, I don't know about Xbox, but if you get it for PS4, you get a free PS5 upgrade for that.
Yeah, they did announce...
probably upgraded ray tracing, lighting, all that.
Yeah, they did announce that if you buy it for the PS4, there's nothing about the Xbox or any of the others yet, but for the PS4, if you purchase it, you will automatically be able to get it for PS5 if you buy the PS5. So, like, if you buy this when it comes out, you can still have it when the game's console swaps, because it's coming out, like, right before the PS5 drops.
Isn't it, like, in September?
Yeah, it's like it comes out September, and when's the PS5 coming out? November? Something like that? Yeah.
Probably the 20th.
So it's like 2 months before it, and I'm like, wow, you did not plan this well, did you? That should have just been a launch title on the PS5. You did not plan this. For real.
I mean, I feel like they have a little bit more time to work on it, but honestly, I don't know. I don't think they do have a ton of time.
No, I think...
So I don't know how much better
because it was meant to come out
Well,
it was meant to come out forever ago. That's why it's coming out in the PS4, because it's been designed for the PS4. It was coming out forever ago.
I just don't know how much better it's going to look, and that's like why I'm like, oh man, the character designs are awful. And I remember when they initially showed it, I think it was like last year, they were even worse. And everybody was like, what the world are you guys thinking? This just looks awful. So they probably went back to the drawing board a little bit with the redesigns, and I just still think they just look like booty. I'm going to be straight up. I don't think they look that good.
But those are the biggest news announcements we've got at this point. The only other things I really had was Dan Didio, like the former head at DC, who I can't stand because he hates Wally West and Dick Grayson, two of my favourite characters. And did an interview. He's asked about why he doesn't like them, basically why he doesn't like Dick Grayson and Wally West, two of the most popular characters in DC amongst the community. Why he wanted to kill off Dick Grayson during Infinite Crisis was because he thought it'd be a big blow for the Trinity, because he's well connected with all of them and stuff like that. And I'm like, no, you tried to get rid of Nightwing and turn him into Grayson, just a secret agent, and then you basically literally had him have head trauma, so he became Rick Grayson. It isn't just a storyline thing. I'm sorry, you've been trying to get rid of that character.
Yeah.
And he came out and pretty much said he literally doesn't like Wally West because he's too connected to Barry Allen. Even his origin story, he says he's always going to be subservient to Barry in some way because his origin was determined by Barry. West's origin in The Flash, number 110, is a direct copy of Allen's. They both got struck by lightning while being doused with multiple chemicals. West's uniform even a copy of Allen's until he got his red and yellow outfit in The Flash. Yeah, because he was a sidekick to him.
Yeah, I don't know.
And then Barry Allen died. He came back and he wasn't dead, but he basically died. Hey, Browse, how's it going, man? Thank you for joining the Comic Clan. We appreciate the follow, brother. Glad you could be here.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I don't know a whole lot about Wally West.
The thing is, as well, because he's like that sort of Wally West, it's see for people at our age, see if you read comic books when you were in your late 20s, early 30s growing up, Wally West was the Flash. Barry disappeared in Crisis on Infinite Earths, and Wally West became the Flash. He wasn't a copy, he was literally his own character for years. It really doesn't matter where his origin came from. He was a beloved Flash for years. It's only recently that Barry came back. It was early 2000s, I think. Flash Rebirth happened and Barry Allen actually came back. Hey, Browse, yeah, finally made it to a live show, brother. Glad you could be here. Thanks for coming in, man. We appreciate it. But yeah, so I wanted to mention that. I don't have a big talking point on that of like Dan Didio trying to explain himself, and what came out of that interview was literally, yeah, you still hate the characters, and
Yeah.
you know, and it's like I get if you don't like certain characters yourself. Like there's certain characters in comics I'm not a fan of, but see if you're the head of the company and everybody goes, we love this character,
Then you got to do it.
don't bury them, actually
Yeah.
do them. But yeah, that was my last big one. So that was our news for this week. I don't think there was any other massive topics that I did want to delve into. I want to, you know, we're at the 30-minute mark. I want to delve into our major topic for today.
Yeah,
Talking about, this is part one of our early 2000s superhero movies. A fan favourite for a lot of people, big favourite for me and Nitro. We're going to be talking about Sam Raimi's Spider-Man trilogy. This, you know, it was so good to look back in these movies and just, and they have aged well. I'll be honest, I'm still a fan of them.
Yeah, they've aged well.
Like, we're going to talk about Spider-Man 1, Spider-Man 2, and yes, we're even going to talk about Spider-Man 3, which proof of why studios should sometimes just step back and let people do their job.
Yeah.
All right, so let's delve in. Let's just take it one at a time.
All right, let's do this.
So we'll delve into number one, Spider-Man. So overall, your thoughts on the first Spider-Man movie?
So I feel like overall, I feel like I'm not. All right. I feel like every week I just get deeper and deeper in the hole with people, with the fan base. But I'm just not. I'm not a gigantic fan. I don't not like him. I'm just not a gigantic fan of Sam Raimi, his directing style.
Wow, that's a really brave thing to say.
I know. I feel like
I feel like I asked you to be a co-host. I didn't realize you were going to be like the anti-geek.
I feel like a lot of his stuff is just it's a little over the top, nowhere near Joss Whedon, but a little over the top. Some of the dialogue is a bit cringy. That being said,
oh yeah,
I feel like the way that he approached Spider-Man, I feel like he approached it with a lot of reverence for the OG Spider-Man.
Oh yeah, he's a massive fan of the original Spider-Man stuff. Yeah, and
you could really see that in the way that he treated the story. Like, trying to contrast it to like the newer comic book movies, and they try to they take the OG version of the character and they kind of try to twist it and mold it to make it. I hate to keep using the term edgy, but that's the word of the day. So I'm gonna use it. Make it edgy, and they end up changing, I think, key aspects of the character, I think, personality-wise, that make them that character. And I feel like what Sam Raimi did very well was kind of keep that intact, you know, while addressing, minor issues like the organic web shooters. Like, come on, Sam. Really? But minor issues, I feel like this movie was, nailed it. Nailed the tone, I think. Slightly campy at points. I didn't mind it. I didn't mind it too much, though.
See, that's the thing, people always say that as a big issue against it, oh, it's a really campy movie, it's really silly when you look back on it, and I'm like, you realise this is from a comic book, right? You realise this is a guy that wears red and blue spandex, swings from webs, and climbs walls. I'm like, people forget that about comic book movies, they're meant to be a little bit silly. It's okay. People take that as a really bad thing, and they're like, it's okay to be silly, and, oh, hey Tommy, how's it going, man? Frozen Orange Gaming in the house. Thank you for popping in, brother, we appreciate it. But yeah, I think this is still my favorite Spider-Man movie, at least to this trilogy. It's definitely still up there for me. I even like it more than the second one, and I'm fully aware it might be nostalgia glasses for me, but this was the one that massively impacted me. This was the one that massively hit me. This is the movie that put superhero movies on the map. People forget that before the late 90s, superhero movies were crap.
Yeah.
Then the first big success we got was Blade. It was the first one that was a really good movie, really enjoyable.
They took it seriously.
But nobody knew it was a comic book movie. It was a cult hit. Barely anybody knew about it in 98. So it kind of just went under the radar. And then the next one that took the step up was X-Men. X-Men was out about a year or two before Spider-Man. And it started putting comic books on the map. Another really good movie. I still like the first X-Men movie as well, although it is stupid at points. And
yeah, Blade was amazing.
Yeah, Blade's an amazing movie.
100%.
Blade 1 and 2, I literally had arguments with my friend back and forth of I was trying to work out if Blade 1 or 2 was better. Because like it literally
I don't remember
depends.
what happened in 2.
2 is the one with the Reapers, like the guys with the jaws that open like
I
that.
wasn't a fan of that one. 1 is definitely my favorite, though.
Really?
Yeah, I don't
I
mean to be so
love.
dismissive, Cross. I'm sorry, but
Wow.
I think 1 is way better.
Like, I loved 1, and it's like, don't get me wrong. I mean, like they were going to make some stupid choices, and they pulled it back. 2, I love. It's Guillermo del Toro at his best, just messing about and making monsters.
Yeah.
What do you guys think would have done with X-Men Origins Gambit? If they would have done X-Men Origins Gambit.
Oh, dude, Gambit is probably one of my favorite X-Men, so I would have loved to see Gambit.
I would have loved to seen Gambit on the screen, but like I don't trust them. I've seen what happened with a lot of those movies, and I'm like, I don't know if it had been done like properly.
Alright, so
but yeah, people forget the fact that like Blade was an awesome movie, but it was really cult hit, really under the radar. Nobody really knew about it. X-Men started getting them noticed, and people forget Spider-Man was the first superhero movie that got taken seriously.
And it did a smashing in the box office.
I've literally got
so much
let
money.
let me pull this stat up because I got this off of somebody who was talking about it, and I wanted to say this stat. At the time, it was the highest grossing movie, and its opening weekend, it made $114 million, which doesn't seem like a lot compared to current movies, but it was the first movie, even including inflation, to make $100 million over a weekend. Like, it's not like a case of like people caught on to this. Like, no, from the get-go, Spider-Man was a success. From the get-go, this was popular enough and was getting a sequel. And I can't give the movie enough credit. Like, yeah, it's silly and yeah, it's campy at points, and I'm like, I think that's okay if you play into it, which it does. Tobey Maguire is an amazing Peter Parker.
I agree. One thing I will say, I feel like they could have done a bit better choosing actors to play teenagers.
Oh yeah, 100%.
I totally forgot Joe Manganiello was not Barry Allen.
Flash Thompson.
And I'm like, oh my gosh, dude, you look like you're 40 years old.
Yeah, he looks so old, man. Although I'm not gonna lie, I would love to see him as like an Agent Venom character now, like an older Flash at that point. I think he could pull it off. But yeah, it's like they were.
I agree though. I love Tobey Maguire.
He was great. I will be honest. I think Andrew Garfield was a better Spider-Man.
Agreed.
Like, his role as Spider-Man was better. He did, like, Tobey Maguire did get quips in occasionally. He had a couple in the movie, but I don't think he was as fast, as energetic, as quippy as we want Spider-Man to be. I want to see him. And
I feel like he played the smart high school kid really good.
Yeah,
like,
he did it really well.
Dorky. Like, I feel like he played that part really well.
Oh yeah, he had it perfect. He played you could tell Sam Raimi was a fan of the original Spider-Man. And the original Spider-Man comics, because he plays that up. I heard somebody talking about like the Amazing Spider-Man, and they say that Peter Parker is a lot more like a modern Spider-Man. Like, he's an older, like, he could be the guy who grows up. Like, Peter Parker and Tobey Maguire's one could be the guy that grows up to be, you know, a fairly smart nerd and a teacher and all that. The Andrew Garfield one's like the one that we grow up to be like the business mogul, like your what's his face that runs Facebook and all that stuff.
Yeah, Mark Zuckerberg.
Yeah, Zuckerberg. It's like he could be the one that grows up to do something like that. Funnily enough, Andrew Garfield was actually in the Social Network movie. Funnily.
So one thing I will say is I really liked Harry and Peter's relationship in this. Like, I really liked the way that they did that, and that was one of the main reasons I still like Amazing Spider-Man 1. It's obviously definitely not in my top Spider-Man movies. I have a soft spot for that movie because I love the way that I loved their relationship, because even though, you know, Harry Osborn was a brat, you know, they still figured out a way to kind of make it work, and there was contention. And I kind of like that in Sam Raimi's trilogy as well. Fun fact, Kevin Feige was a producer on all 3 Spider-Man films, just FYI.
Yeah. You want to know why they were so good? Because the guy that helmed the MCU was behind it and pushing it.
Yeah.
And just to kind of chop with chat, Jay Sanchez saying they were thinking of it and they backed out. Yeah, the Gambit movie they were, and then it just kept getting pushed off, and then Disney bought it, so it was gotten rid of. And he does deserve better than the Wolverine movie has, definitely. Jay Sanchez says if Tobey Maguire didn't back out of Spider-Man, it would have made millions more. They would have made more of them. It's like what made it a massive issue was the fact of like how bad Spider-Man 3 bombed. It stopped thing going forward, and like they had to course correct. And literally the only reason Amazing Spider-Man got made as early as it did was because they didn't want to lose the rights back to Marvel. They had to make a movie every 5 years to keep the rights.
You know how close after Spider-Man 3 that Amazing Spider-Man was made? I don't know
5
that
years.
offhand.
It came out.
Oh,
It came out 5 years after it. Like
5 years.
literally,
Okay.
2007, Spider-Man 3 came out. Which to
Because I
point
remember
out,
at the time people
literally
were
the
like,
whole Spider-Man trilogy came out before the MCU.
yeah, I remember at the time people were like, dude, why are we releasing a new Spider-Man? Like, why
Yeah,
are we
it came out
recasting
in
this early?
2012. It came
Yeah.
out
Okay.
2012, same year as Avengers. And it's like
Hmm.
literally they had to make it so it was out for the 5 year mark, because if they
Got
didn't
it.
make another Spider-Man movie in 5 years, they would have lost the rights. That's the only reason we got it soon. Um,
Got it.
which Spider-Man did Rhino show up in? He showed up in Amazing Spider-Man 2, which that's going to be another episode all to itself.
Yeah.
Because I mean, hey, Spider-Man 3, how can we make that worse?
I was so pumped for Electro. He was in the second one, right?
Oh yeah, he was in Amazing Spider-Man 2. He was the main villain.
Yeah, that's such a ball drop.
Yeah.
Anyways, I'm sorry, we're digressing.
Yeah, sorry. It's
Um,
going to come up though, because Amazing Spider-Man
yeah,
is also the other failed like attempt at booting this universe, so it's like it's going to come up in conversation.
yeah, but
Um,
I feel like the relationships. I loved Kristen Dunst as Mary Jane. I thought she was
oh,
perfect
she was
casting.
amazing.
Perfect.
I thought she played Mary Jane really well. I really
Yeah,
liked her in the role. I've heard people saying like she wasn't quite as energetic and spunky as Mary Jane all the time, but like I felt like we got to. It was a different version of her to a degree. We got to know her like off the get go. She was the girl next door for Peter,
yeah,
rather than the in the comics. She's like a blind date that's set up for him,
yeah.
and which also in the
I
comic,
like the way that she was approached in the movie.
you know, it's
The
like
way
in the
that her
movie, I
whole
like the girl
backstory.
next door. I like it, you know, like she's the fun, happy-go-lucky girl with everyone, but
Yeah,
then she talks to Peter and she's very like down to earth, very open and
yeah.
honest with who she is. The relationship, like, because people said that, I was like, oh, I don't like the relationship, and I'm like, if you've been a teenager that had a major crush on someone, that's pretty much how you acted around them.
Yeah,
You
pretty
know what I mean?
much.
It's like I think it's spot on, and but I have to talk about my favorite casting for this first movie.
I know who you're gonna say.
I have to say it. Willem Dafoe
Yeah, I knew you were
as
gonna say that.
Norman Osborn and the Green Goblin is
Yeah.
still one of my favorite bits of casting to this day. Sam
Okay.
Raimi was not going to cast him. Willem Dafoe lobbied for this role. He would not stop
Really, I didn't know that.
pestering Sam Raimi for this role. He wanted to play Norman Osborn. He loved the character and he wanted to bring him to life.
Yeah.
And say what you want about the Green Goblin suit being a freaking like Power Ranger looking
Awful.
suit. I'm like, I love the style of the suit, but like people forget. You know what people forget though? They like that. It's like, oh, I hate the look of the Green Goblin suit. I'm like, do you remember what the Green Goblin suit looked like in the comics?
Yeah.
He had like green like goblin skin on his legs, arm, and face, and had a little purple tunic and a little purple hat that hung down the back. And I'm like, I'm sorry, it's an upgrade.
Yeah, I
It
feel like it
really
was a
is.
good attempt.
I think it's a. I like the design personally, like, but I'm a Power Rangers fan. I've always liked Power Rangers as well. Yeah, I'd say she was perfect. Yeah, for as MJ was amazing. I think that's when I started having crushes on redheads through my teens, was because of Kirsten Dunst in that movie. That was like I went through a period of liking redheads, and I'm pretty sure that's what started it.
That's hilarious. Oh, sorry for that, Jay Sanchez. Nightbot doesn't like spamming emojis for some
Yeah,
reason.
sorry about that, spamming it. Don't worry, we're getting rid of Nightbot. We're getting a new bot, and I'll mess about with it. So that I've had a few people that's happened to, and sorry about that.
All right, so I'll be straight. All right, so Norman Osborn, I agree. I think William Dafoe is fantastic as Norman Osborn. I love his relationship with Peter, and he recognizes Peter's intelligence, and he kind of
Hmm.
latches onto that.
Yeah.
I love that. 'Cause I think that's an integral part of the comics, and I really like that part. I am not a fan of the outfit at all. I feel like it was a good attempt to kind of reimagine it for the live screen, and I'll give them credit on that.
Yeah.
I've seen behind the scenes of them doing like an organic goblin mask, and I think if they would have spent a little more time on that, I think it could have worked.
Mhm.
Because it looked terrifying. It looked absolutely terrifying.
Yeah.
And just him, when he's close up with Spider-Man and you can see his mouth moving through the mouth hole, kind of just takes me out of it a bit.
Oh, that's on purpose though. See if you actually watch that scene. There's a slat that moves down and up.
Yeah,
So like when he's talking to Spider-Man in those scenes, like on the rooftop and stuff, it slides up.
yeah,
I think that's him trying to be a little more personable or whatever. Like,
yeah. I think William Dafoe would be
out
kind
of
of
this
cool as
world, and
Joker.
also
I think
should
he
be
might
Joker.
might be a bit old pushing
Well,
the age, but I think it would be cool.
and saying that, I mean, like, if it wasn't Joaquin Phoenix that did the Joker movie, like, Willem Dafoe could probably have pulled that off, an older,
Mhm.
dishevelled Joker style.
He's almost like a Mark Hamill, like Arkham Asylum Batman Joker.
I could see that.
Like,
It's amazing.
because Batman Arkham, well, he looks a lot older.
Oh,
Anyways, sorry.
but as amazing as his casting was, the last bit of casting I really want to mention, even more perfect than Willem Dafoe. So much so that he was brought back into the MCU to redo the character. We got
Oh
J.K.
yeah.
Simmons
Oh yeah.
as
No doubt
J.
about it.
Jonah Jameson.
No doubt about
Possibly
it, man.
one of the best bits of casting in movie history.
Yeah.
Like, and I will stand on that. Like,
Well, him and Sir Patrick Stewart as Professor X. I think those two are
yeah.
like just like.
But like
Oh,
J.K. Simmons just letting rip as J. Jonah Jameson. I popped when he showed up at Far From Home. Yeah,
Yeah.
had to
Yeah.
think I was saying the right movie. They're like, yeah, it's Far From Home. It's like he is like, even in Spider-Man 3, he is like one of the best bits about the thing. It's like,
Yeah.
I love J.K. Simmons as like J. Jonah Jameson. Like, you just have to play J. Jonah in any Spider-Man movie. Like, he has to like transfer over.
It was funny because I was watching some recap. I didn't rewatch the movies because I've seen them so many times. It's ungodly. I just haven't seen them in a while, so I was watching some recaps.
Yeah, just
And
remind
there was
myself.
there was that one point where Green Goblin kind of showed J. Jonah Jameson and was holding him up by his throat, and he wouldn't give up Spider-Man. And some people were saying that's because he was trying to cover his own butt, because Peter Parker was his only photographer. I don't buy that. I think he, like, deep down is a good guy. He just doesn't want to portray that to like
Oh yeah,
people
you
that
get
he works with.
you even see that in the comics. Like, there's an amazing storyline in the comics. I don't know if it's been retconned or what yet. I really hope it hasn't. But like, we're literally Spider-Man, like Peter Parker reveals himself to J. Jonah Jameson,
Mm-hmm.
his identity, because like Jonah's like father and his aunt are getting together and stuff, and
Oh,
there's a
okay.
whole thing like that, and like he's in a really down point, and he literally takes off the mask, and literally like that, his rhetoric to Spider-Man changes, and he actually starts trying to help Peter and starts trying to be there to
That's awesome. I love
encourage
that.
him and show up if he needs help. And it's deep down, I think, yeah, that's it though. It's like, he is a jackass on top of it all. He is the guy that, but at the same time, like, as soon as he holds them up, it's like, who takes the pictures of Spider-Man? It's like, I don't know, his stuff comes in the mail, and I'm like, I don't think he hesitated for a minute to like not
No,
sell out one of his
no,
people.
it was awesome. I love that. I didn't realize that when I was younger watching that scene, what was actually happening
Oh
there.
yeah.
But as I got older and I look back, I'm like, dude,
So
he
the
was
guy's getting
covering
picked
for that
up
dude.
by a guy in armor on top of a flying glider who's blowing people up, who attacked downtown. I'm like, and
Yeah,
you're
yeah,
literally going, yeah, I don't know the guy. He just sends his
yeah,
stuff in, and I'm
yeah.
like,
He
that
could have literally been murdered. Yeah.
that takes some cojones to do that. You know what I mean? It's like, but yeah,
Sorry.
this. So we move on for the casting. So the storyline of it. So what did we think of the story of it?
All right,
The first
just a couple
Spider-Man
things.
movie.
So there was a couple videos that I watched that were comparing Spider-Man 1 and 2
Mm-hmm.
regarding how they approached like consequences of actions and stakes. And they made a really, really good point. And I know we'll get to Spider-Man 2 in a minute. But I don't in Spider-Man 1, like with Peter Parker's personal decisions, I don't think there were a whole lot of like really high stakes. And I'll explain what I mean. So, towards the end and spoilers, obviously, for a 14-year-old movie or however old it is.
Okay, so nearly
Spoilers for
20-year-old movie at this point.
so when Green Goblin is holding Mary Jane like by the throat, and then he's got that cart full of kids that's hanging over the bridge, and
Yeah.
he's making Peter Parker choose. Like the video made a really good, like, obviously he's going to choose. There's consequences to whatever action he chooses, but he ends up saving them both. So that entire sequence that hinged on him as a character to his foundation really didn't have any consequences. It didn't push the ball forward or anything like that.
Hmm.
There is a similar situation in Spider-Man 2, actually multiple situations in Spider-Man 2, which is why that is my favorite of the Raimi Spider-Mans, that actually show that there are consequences to his actions, and he is aware of those consequences, but he still decides to do what he feels is the right thing to do,
Yeah.
which I thought is really cool.
No, absolutely, yeah. I
Yeah.
would definitely give it that. And it's like, that final scene was literally just looking like to give him like a big choice to make, and it's like obviously trying to echo the Gwen Stacy death, in
Yeah,
the
and I get it.
comics,
Like,
and
yeah, I
it's
get
like,
it.
but like clearly you're not going to have them die.
Yeah.
It's like a PG-13 movie. You're not going to have a bunch of kids die in
Yeah.
a trailer thing, and you're not going to kill off Kirsten Dunst, one of your main characters who the story's based on in the first
Yeah.
movie. Although
Yeah.
if they did, that would have been brave, but
Yeah, and I get that. I feel like they could have
no,
just
it's like
approached that a little bit differently.
it's more about it's not about the consequences for that one. I think it's more about the him taking on the Goblin and pushing himself in that way, because that's not even like the real finale to that. The real finale is like when they go off the bridge,
Yeah.
and that final fight is just so freaking brutal.
Yeah, it is.
Like, they are literally just laying into each other. Like, Spider-Man's mask is ripped. He is bloodied. He is beaten.
Yeah.
He is battered. He is taking a pounding.
Yeah.
And it's almost like Captain America. I can do this all day. Like, he keeps getting up, which like is totally a Spider-Man mentality. Like, it doesn't matter how bruised he is. Like, I need to keep going. I don't stop.
Yeah. I love it. It's probably just the kind of another universe Spider-Man. So Tom Holland's Spider-Man when Vulture drops a building on him. Like, that is like, and he's like trying to push up and he's crying. Like, that is Spider-Man. Like, he's not gonna stop.
Yeah.
He's gonna do whatever it takes. And yeah, I agree with you 100%. I think Sam Raimi captured.
Yeah, he captured it so well. And like in the first movie, I think the first movie is so well done because it's a total cat and mouse game. Because like he starts being Spider-Man, and like, you know, we get the let's go back to the start of it because we're kind of jumping about here. So I want to mention as well. I want to mention these actors by name because they are phenomenal. Where are they? Rosemary Harris and Cliff Robertson, the actors that portrayed Aunt May and Uncle Ben,
Yeah.
were
They were awesome.
phenomenal. I loved them as those characters. I felt they built up Uncle Ben enough to feel heartbroken when the death happens. And they made Aunt May such a sympathetic and loving character as well. A total great heart on her.
She looked like she was pulled directly from the comics.
Oh yeah, it's so well done. And
Yeah.
you know, obviously you get the scene where, you know, Peter gets his powers and he starts, you know, we're just gonna jump straight to that sort of section because like the start of it is just he's a nerd who gets beat up. Well, hey, it's for the most part, like, you know, but obviously on the trip he gets bit with a spider. He like wakes up with all these powers. I love to hear somebody talking about like he wakes up in the mirror like really buff and really looking at himself, and he handles it really well somehow.
Yeah.
He's like, oh,
All right.
And
And he
like,
starts flexing.
if I woke up with that out of nothing, with having done nothing, like I'd have had a bit
I wouldn't
more.
wear a shirt for a week.
I'd have a bit more
That's
questions of like, where the heck did this come from? Like, yeah, I wouldn't wear a shirt either, man. Like, hey, here we go.
I'd be walking out without a shirt for at least a week.
You know, and it's like, but he obviously gets the idea, like he needs to get money to get a car, so he goes to do the wrestling, which amazing shout out to the phenomenal, may he rest in peace,
Bone Crusher.
Macho Man Randy Savage as Bone Crusher.
With cool Easter egg in Spider-Man Far From Home, there is a poster for that Bone Crusher match in the background.
Oh,
So
really?
yeah, there's an Easter egg to the Sam Raimi
Oh,
Spider-Man
I missed
1.
that. I'm going to go back and watch
Yeah.
that Easter egg now. But yeah, so we get Macho Man Randy Savage, who is not acting in any way. He's just being him. He's doing what he always does in this massive match. And it's like, also as well, during that, we also get the first of 3 Bruce Campbell cameos. Obviously, Bruce Campbell played Ash in the Evil Dead movies and Army of Darkness. Ash Williams, one of the favourite in horror culture characters, the man with a chainsaw for a hand.
Yeah.
And Bruce Campbell, just a legend in this business, and we get to see him who, in this one, he's like, as bone saws ready. Bruce Campbell's the one who names him Spider-Man in this movie, which I love that he just takes that up. So he beats Bonesaw. He gets screwed out of money by the promoter because he didn't last 3 minutes. He got him beaten less than that. So he stops the guy from like stealing his money. He doesn't stop the guy, from stealing the guy's money. And that leads to Uncle Ben getting killed, which is a really heartbreaking scene, even if it did spawn one of the many, many Tobey Maguire meme cry faces. And there are many of them. It was really heartbreaking.
There's so many memes that are from this movie that I didn't realize until I went back and saw it.
There are so many. Then of course he goes to the... I love the fact of after that though, like he literally goes on a revenge spree. He goes after the guy that killed Uncle Ben. I love that the rage comes out.
Did he drop him out of a window?
accidentally, yeah, he was going with the guy, and the guy trips backwards out the window,
Yeah.
and that's when he kind of realizes, like, I can't, I need to be responsible when I do this. You know, great power
Yeah.
comes great responsibility. The line, you know,
That
it's like
is quoted so much.
you know, it's like I need to do that. I need to be responsible with this power that I've been given. It's like,
Yeah.
because it led to Uncle Ben's death, and then look how far it pushed me.
Yeah.
So I love that we get that, which we don't get to see in any of the other movies. Obviously, Tom Holland is already up and running as Spider-Man, and there's a different story to it.
Yeah.
But there's like none of that in the Amazing Spider-Man movies. Even though Uncle Ben is killed, like he just kind of, we going after Uncle Ben's killer? No,
Yeah.
no, no point. So I'm glad they include that, and we get to see him, and it becomes this cat and mouse game after, like, he starts being like Spider-Man, and we see, you know, Norman like takes the serum, the gas in him cell, like, because he's about to get shut down his fundings to prove that the Goblin serum works, and goes into an amazing split personality, and it's the whole movie's this cat and mouse game between the two of them. It's Norman starts to learn who he is and starts to understand and starts to draw closer, and then starts to go after the people he loves, like his Aunt May and Mary Jane. And
There's some really cool scenes, like when it's getting towards the end of the movie and they're starting to figure out who each other are. Like, I think of the one scene at Thanksgiving dinner, when he's sitting beside William Dafoe, Peter Parker is, and there's almost that Michael Keaton Vulture, Tom Holland Spider-Man moment when they're in the car and he's taking his daughter to prom. There's
yeah,
almost
it's that moment
like,
of like when
green
they
light moment
realize.
where he realizes that, oh my gosh, this is Spider-Man. Peter Parker is Spider-Man.
Yeah. And you know what's awesome about that scene? Like, Sam Raimi does an amazing color scheme during that I didn't realize. You might like it since you're an artist. And if you go back and watch that scene, Tobey Maguire's actually, like, Peter Parker's dressed in green. He's got like a green and black outfit on, and Norman Osborn's got blue and red.
Oh, I didn't notice that.
And then Harry's got a mixture of both. I think it's like a green shirt with a red tie he's got. It's like, so it's like there's an interesting play a color scheme there of like the opposite colors.
I did notice, and this was based off of some recap videos that I saw, that there's a heavy color, like, palette, like, very decisive decision made in the movie where Peter Parker's always associated with blue and red, and Norman Osborn is always associated with the color green, and that's seen in, you know, Oscorp, the way he dresses at his home, and then, you know, Peter Parker likewise. So,
yeah, it's like,
I did notice that.
Like, people talk about it being like his outfit being like Power Rangers, and like, it is Power Rangers, you know, like whatever color Ranger they are, that's the only color of clothes they ever wear in everyday life.
Yeah.
Like, if I'm the Red Ranger, that I only have a red attire. Why would I have?
Yeah, I wear a red T-shirt every single day,
and red shorts, and red trainers, and, you know,
and a red hairband.
Yeah, it's like, why would I wear another color? I'm a Red Ranger, you know. Not that it gives me away or anything.
No.
It's like, hey, you only ever wear red. Do you happen to be a Red Ranger?
You only wear red. You only wear yellow. You only wear black.
I think somebody would have clocked on.
You're really good at martial art.
But yeah, like, I love this movie, and then obviously I'm going to push us to kind of the finale of this. If any of you guys have any questions about the first movie, chuck it in chat, because we're hitting the hour mark, and I want to make sure we cover the other two movies as well. We get to the ending, that final brutal fight scene, and then obviously Norman kills himself, impales himself with his glider.
So, question: do you think that obviously he doesn't do that on purpose? He's really trying to kill Spider-Man.
He's trying to kill Spider-Man.
So I will say, looking back on recaps of that movie, that was a very brutal death. Like, he didn't, like, you know how they normally cut from the moment of impact? They did not cut.
Oh,
like,
no,
it just showed it.
Oh no, it cuts to show Peter, and then it cuts back to show him, like, impaled.
Yeah.
And then it shows him, like, literally dying on the glider.
Yeah.
Like, he literally collapses on the glider. And it's brutal. I love that was how we saw the spider sense, though, of like it clicking in as the blades came out, and then just that moment of flip, and it literally just misses him, and it's like, oh no. Because I kind of love that as well. Like, Norman realizes he's screwed. This thing's not going to stop, and he's like, I'm dead.
One thing I don't know if I necessarily buy in this movie, and I'm not sure if this is what they were trying to do, but I feel like they might have been trying to, at the very, very end, redeem Norman Osborn, like, to a certain extent. And it might have just been, like, he didn't want his son to know what type of person he had become. But I don't... Because remember when he said, don't tell Harry or whatever? I don't know. I don't think that was earned. I don't know.
They don't tell Harry. I always kind of took that as a line of, like... Because we see it early on in the movie. We see that there's a split personality. There's Norman, and there's the Goblin.
Oh yeah, you're right.
It's
You're
like
right.
it's a split personality. So because like that scene's phenomenal. Go back and if you've not watched it in
Where he's
forever,
talking in the mirror.
go back and literally watch that scene and watch him play this amazing dialogue with himself off the mirror.
Yeah.
And just even the facial expressions and how Norman and the Goblin change. Like Willem Dafoe does not get enough credit for how good he is. He really does not. It's like and watch that split personality, and I always feel like that's what came back at the end was like to hit
That makes
Peter
sense.
harder of like he didn't just kill the Goblin, he killed a friend. He killed
Yeah.
Norman Osborn, who was his best friend's father, a friend of his own to a certain extent.
Yeah.
So like I always felt like that was to hit home, like, and that's why he like takes Norman back to Harry. It was almost like I'm going to deliver you because you deserve to be put to rest. You know, you don't deserve to just be found in this goblin attire. It's like it's you deserve to be put to rest, and because you see that like he's not in the goblin suit or anything. You know, because Harry doesn't find the stuff until the second movie.
Yeah.
So it's like he has no idea that he's as a goblin, which means Spider-Man undressed him, wrapped him in something, and laid him in his bed to try and be respectful to it. And we then, of course, get the funeral scene, where we start seeing Harry's hatred for Spider-Man, and obviously MJ then tries to like be with Peter and tries to kiss him, and he walks away, and I think that's a hard-hitting one, but it works.
Yeah.
You know, it isn't
does.
just that I'm the hero, so I can't be with someone. Like, no, he's literally just watched someone he knows
Yeah, I
die.
don't wanna
He's
see
watched
you
his
get hurt.
best friend's life be pretty much ruined with his dad's death, and he's like,
Yeah.
I care about her too much to see it happen. Like, I think it's honestly earned, and it's been done so many times, that sort of thing now, but I think it's honestly earned in this first movie.
I agree 100%.
And then obviously that's one of the other big things in this series, like literally for all three movies, is the major like relationship is Peter, MJ, and Harry. It's that love triangle.
I love that. I think that's one of the main things that makes this series work as well as it does. Not the third one, but it makes the series work as much as it
No,
can.
because in the third one they decide, hey, let's add another love triangle by introducing Gwen Stacy. With, I'd like to point out, by the way, a young Bryce Dallas Howard before anyone knew who she was, really.
Yeah, yeah. But I feel like all right. So in one of the best bit of web swinging, whatever you want to call it, we get at the end of this movie is just fantastic.
Oh, yeah.
One thing I will say that I really really like is I don't know why, but I like the fact of Peter Parker just in his room listening to a police scanner, like waiting for a crime to be announced and then jumping out the window. I don't know why. I just love that.
Like, that's his way to keep on top of everything, because
Yeah.
how do you keep track of what's going on? It's like, it has to be a police scanner, because otherwise you're just swinging around town hoping for the best.
Yeah, I mean that's one of the reasons I like Amazing Spider-Man 1 a little bit too, because they kind of do that same thing where he's listening to the police scanner and that type of stuff. But yeah, I don't know. But yeah, I really like Spider-Man 1. Man, it's not my favorite of the three, but I really like it. It's definitely
Yeah.
got a I got a soft spot for that one.
Yeah, I think 1 and 2 I'm always back and forth on which one I like the most. Like, and I think I think part of it is like, if I didn't have a love for superheroes like before that point, which I did, it's like, but that was like the thing that solidified like, this is amazing.
Yeah.
Like, why?
Yeah,
how can-
and I was so I know I've talked about this before, but I had a long box of comics. Half of them were Spider-Man, Amazing Spider-Man, and so I grew up with Spider-Man. I love Spider-Man. So the fact that they were making one,
yeah.
I was like, oh, this is so cool.
And I do want to mention as well, actually, just a little like technical thing for it, just because it's going to come up in the second one as well. Sam Raimi tried to do as much of this movie as possible with practical effects and in-camera shots. He tried to minimize the amount of CGI that was needed for it. Obviously there is CGI, and obviously it was like 2001, 2002, so it has not aged well. But like, he tried to be practical, and a lot of the stuff holds up that's practical.
Yeah.
You see all the practical effects still holding up.
Well, and I think a lot of Doc Ock stuff in the second movie, especially because
That's
a
why
lot of his tentacle work was.
Oh yeah, that's why I wanted to mention it, because I wanted to jump into the second movie before we get too late, obviously. But that's all practical effects as well. Like, literally, Doc Ock's arms, almost every shot of his arms are practical effects. Like, if you see them like hovering behind him, there's somebody controlling that in almost every shot.
Yeah.
Like, there's a few CG ones, obviously, but like, for the most part, like, yeah, he's wearing a rig and someone's controlling those arms.
Yeah.
You know, and can I just say, Alfred Molina?
Dude. All right, so like your William Dafoe for Norman Osborn, my Alfred Molina for Doc Ock, I think is perfect.
He was perfect casting for Doc Ock.
Dude, he was like, all right, so his entire arc in the movie. So do we want to kind of like pull up and just at a high level talk about the plot of the movie?
Yeah, let's just jump into the plot of this one, because the first one, I'll be honest, we did kind of get a bit off track. So let's jump into the plot. So the plot of the second one, it pretty much picks up where the first one left off.
Mm-hmm.
We've got that left off, like he's not with Mary Jane, although he's friends with her, and like Peter Parker's still struggling through life. We get all the fun scenes of him trying to deliver pizzas on a certain length of time because that's his job, and like screws up royally, and we get him then being late to like Mary Jane's recital and all this stuff. But one of the exciting things going on is we get introduced to Otto Octavius. Watch the start of this movie, like that, literally like the meeting, the dinner scene, the beginning of like him putting on the rig, all of that stuff. Watch it. He makes Otto Octavius so likable.
Dude, the dinner scene, like, just the simple act of him, like, he's interacting with Peter and he kind of leans back, like, he's impressed with Peter. Like, that's the type of stuff that, like, I think is missing in some of the newer movies, like Amazing Spider-Man, and even kind of like Tom Holland's Spider-Man a little bit, is like, he is freaking, like, ridiculously intelligent.
Yeah, he's a genius.
I think a lot of people don't remember that.
I'm glad in Far From Home they started really playing that up for Tom Holland's Spider-Man, because it's like, people forget he is really smart. Like, he can go with some of the biggest. He's got one of the biggest brains in Marvel.
Yeah.
It's definitely up there. And like to see him, like obviously, like Harry brings him in. Harry's still mad at him because he's what Spider-Man did, and like he takes pictures of Spider-Man. So like, why won't you introduce him to me? Why won't you? You should tell me where he is and all this stuff. And okay. It's an understandable journey for it. Just it's like a 2 hours of him doing pretty much nothing but that, and there's nothing much more to say on it. He just gets madder and madder at Peter as if he goes on. But he introduces him because he's a photographer for the Bugle, and like he thinks, oh, he's just a photographer, and then Otto starts to get to know him and starts to build a relationship with him, and starts to connect with his wife, and just is really impressed with him and wants him to be there, like when they do the experiment and stuff. And it's so cool to see that scientific side coming out, and also how that ends up playing into a factor later. It then goes from that to the experiment, obviously. Otto uses the arms and it goes horribly wrong. And he ends up getting taken to the hospital. This thing has been fused to him. These arms he was using on the experiment are fused to him. Blows out the neural chip that controls it, so you don't only get like Doc Ock like fully like doing his thing. You also have this scary, like, sentient AI, like, coercing him story as well, which I'm like...
My favorite part is when he reaches back and he realizes that it's exploded, and then the tentacle comes around and looks at him and starts talking to him.
Yeah, it starts talking to him, and I'm like, it's like one of where Venom got its ideas from.
Oh my gosh.
But yeah, like, so he starts talking to it, and he started getting in his head, and like obviously they want to continue the experiment. That's what starts Doc Ock off in his journey. Which leads to like some of the big scenes with Doc Ock. We start to see like the bank robbery scene.
So good. So that scene, the bank robbery scene with him and Spider-Man, and then the train scene.
Oh yeah, the train scene is like the best scene in the movie. It's so good.
I'll put those against any villain fight, Spider-Man fight in any movie. I think they still hold up. I think they're fantastically done. And like you said earlier, I think the practical effects mixed with CGI in the right proportion are great. And going back to what I was talking about earlier, like I feel like they really delve into the consequences of Peter Parker's decisions that he's making. Like for instance, the one where he has to save the train. Like he basically uses every ounce of energy that he has to save that train, and he ends up passing out, and that cost him his identity, his secret identity. He's now unmasked, and people know who he is. There's some real cost to that decision.
The tagline for this should be "Everyone knows who Spider-Man is." Like he unmasks like to so many people in this movie.
That is true. That is true.
It's like literally ridiculous how many people see him unmasked in this. I always love that scene in the train though. I always love the fact because I love the fight and I love all that, but I always love the scene where like they carry him into the train and they lay him down. And it's like it reminds me of that scene like in the comics when Lex Luthor takes over Barry Allen's body. Like in the Flash costume, he goes, "Haha, I can find out who the Flash is," and he takes it off and he goes, "Who the hell is this?" And
Yeah.
like, I love that idea of like that. Yeah, you've revealed your face to everybody, but you're going to tell everyone he's a kid with brown hair, whatever color eyes. Like, you don't know who he
Okay.
is. Like, he's maybe credited in the bugle for like his pictures, but that's it. Like, he's not like a well-known person unless you actually know him.
Yeah, and let's be real. Those two kids who hand him back his mask and be like, "We won't tell anybody, Spider-Man." Like, really? Are we really gonna believe those two little kids aren't
Well,
gonna
yeah,
tell
it's like that. I
anyone?
saw Spider-Man without his mask, and
Yeah, I would tell somebody immediately. I'd be
nobody's
like,
going
"No,
to
I'm not gonna
believe
tell
them. And then
anybody."
what are you going to do? It's not like saying like I know who Iron Man is. It's Tony Stark. Oh my goodness, I know who Tony Stark is. Like,
Yeah,
nobody knows who Peter Parker is.
some random white blonde-haired kid in Queens.
That's kind of like my thing at the end of Far From Home, to be honest. Like the whole video with Mysterio, like revealing like Spider-Man is Peter Parker, and I'm like, that's only going to affect like 20 people
Yeah.
who actually know who Peter Parker is. Everyone else is going to go, who the hell is Peter Parker?
Yeah, the thing with that though
You
is
know what I mean?
there's social media is a lot more prevalent, so
Yeah,
people
it's a lot more
have
prevalent. Like
access to be
obviously we
able to
were in like
research.
the early 2000s. Like social media
Yeah,
wasn't a thing at that time. Like I mean, like we were still. I think we were barely using like MySpace at that point, and it's like we
yeah.
hadn't gotten Facebook wasn't a thing yet, and Twitter and Instagram definitely weren't. And it's like it's just it's
So
so funny. But like yeah, I love that train fight. Like go back and watch that train fight scene. Like if you know that's the scene to watch back from this one. Like because you get them fighting on top of it, and you get you them then fighting on the side of it, like Doc Ock's holding on with his arms and Spider-Man's like sticking to it. You get him like getting knocked off the side, swinging through the inside and back out onto the
yeah,
train. You
it's
get him
so
getting
good.
knocked off and like sliding on the ground with webs on the
Yeah.
train and
Well,
like pulling himself up again. And
his whole battle on the side of the building with Doctor
oh
Ock, I was
yeah,
like, "What? Dude, this is sweet."
oh yeah, he starts ripping buildings apart and Spidey's having to web it up and catch it. There's
Yeah,
that amazing scene where Spider-Man's on the side and Doc moves and this train's like here and
yeah,
he flattens his back and like
yes,
sticks to the side of it and stuff. It's
dude,
like
it's
it's
fantastic.
like
And him,
you want to
the,
properly use like their abilities and how would they fight on this structure that you can literally go around and go inside and all these things to it that's literally off the ground. Like they do
the
it.
whole
It's so good.
whole shot is when Doctor Ock he gets in the train and he takes his arms and just shoves everything to the side. I'm like, "Oh, dude, that's so
Oh
sweet."
yeah, I love that as
Yeah,
well. Like the people step in the road to try and protect Spider-Man, and it's like and he literally just arms through, move,
yeah.
and
There
I'm
was
like, it's
there's so many cool shots in this movie that are iconic. You know, the whole flipping the car over Peter Parker's head when he's talking to Mary Jane in the
oh
restaurant,
yeah.
throwing the money bags in the bank. You know, there's just so many cool like
Even
when
like
he's
Doc
pulling.
Ock, like on top of like the clock tower thing, like just standing
Yes,
there, is like and stuff. It's like, oh, it's so
when
good.
Spider-Man is trying to unplug Doc Ock's machine and he's like got all of his strength and he's pulling on those huge plugs. I just so I think out of all three, I think this one for me I think is the best.
Yeah.
I think for a couple reasons. One, I think they toned down the campiness just a tad.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah,
They do. It's definitely not as campy. There's definitely not as many cringy one-liners. Like
yeah,
Spider-Man quips, but like in the first one, he's got a couple of quips and a couple of like.
yeah.
It's very like 1960s Spider-Man cartoon one-liner. Like,
I feel like the stakes in this movie, like his personal decision consequences stakes are very real and they're very
yeah.
prevalent. Like you see that in his relationship with Mary Jane.
Let's talk about that
How
because I was going to bring
yeah,
that
yeah,
up actually.
absolutely.
So in the middle of all this, in the middle of fighting Doc Ock, in the middle of all this stuff, we get like the lead up to it where like Mary Jane basically, I don't know, she kind of gets over Peter and he decides he wants to be with her, even though like, okay, you didn't want to be with her, now you're all of a sudden like, okay, I will be.
Yeah.
She ends up like meeting J. Jonah Jameson's son, John Jameson, the astronaut, who doesn't play a factor in the Venom symbiote at all, which is very sad to
No.
me because they did
It's
that in the
true.
cartoon, and I always that was when I got hyped when I heard him. I'm like, it's going to be Venom. I'm
Yeah.
like, no, not a factor.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Pretty
yeah,
much.
so she goes and gets engaged to him, and she has this whole little side story of like, you know, she's with him, and they try to recreate the upside down kiss on the sofa, and all this stuff, and it's like it's clearly like she's with him and says yes to get engaged, but she doesn't want to be with him, and all that
Yeah.
stuff. In the
He's a
mid,
rebound.
in the
Let's be
middle,
honest. He's a rebound.
he's a rebound guy. He's a
Yeah.
rebound. He's a nice guy. Peter's not doing his thing, so. But in the midst of like battling Doc Ock, in the midst of all this stuff going on, we throw in like one of the biggest Spider-Man storylines from the comics, Spider-Man No More.
Yep. The iconic shot with
The iconic shot,
outfit
yeah, they
hanging
even
out of the
recreate
trash
that. The
can.
iconic shot
Yeah.
of the
I
Spider-Man
loved it when they did that. That
costume
was so
in the
cool.
trash can, him walking down the alleyway,
Yeah.
literally taken from that front cover.
Yeah, it was so cool.
It's like it's so cool. It's such a cool recreated shot.
Yeah.
So he starts losing his powers, which can I cringe at that a little bit because they're like,
Yeah, I would agree.
why?
Yeah.
Like,
Is he just
you
not
could
mentally with it?
literally have done the whole thing of like he just decides I'm not going to be Spider-Man, screw it,
Yeah.
and you would have got the same effect. Like, oh, he's losing his powers, so I'm like, so he's not really making the choice; it's getting made for him.
Yeah, you're right.
That's my only thing with that, and it's never explained. Like, he just randomly losing his powers, and then all of a sudden, oh, they're back, they're fixed.
Yeah. Willpower.
Like, if it's just the fact that like he's not mentally in the right place, either tell us or show us that. That's my big thing for the movie is like the Spider-Man No More story can be adapted for it, but kind of like you said, like the organic web shooters, it makes sense for the Sam Raimi story. Like, I know he's got web shooters, but like he's a kid in high school. How is he going to get the stuff to build web shooters?
Yeah, I don't
You're
know.
going to, but you know what I mean. You're going to explain all that stuff. You've got all this other stuff to add in. Oh, he's got organic webbing because yeah, why wouldn't he? It's like it makes sense in terms for the story. Like, I think you could have adapted Spider-Man No More in terms for the story and still gotten that same thing of having him like, my best friend hates me because he thinks I'm not selling it Spider-Man to him. The girl I want to be with I can't be with, and now she's about to get engaged to someone else. I'm screwing up at my job. I'm losing jobs because of this. I'm not spending time with family. Like Peter Parker, there is so much focus in this movie on Peter Parker's life.
I love it. It
Which
shows
is
the
what you
actual
need.
reality of being a superhero. Like,
Which is what makes
does that
Peter
mean?
Parker. Peter Parker's meant to be like this. If you read Peter Parker's stories, like he is the guy that's usually down in his luck and crap keeps happening to him, and that's the whole point. Like, he puts on the mask and he keeps going to Spider-Man regardless of what's going on.
Yep.
But yeah, so you get the midst of this, and he does the great walk away, which is phenomenal. And there's so many great shots of like the raindrops keep falling on my head
That was a
scene.
bit corny, but I was like,
Which,
okay, whatever.
but I see what he's going for because that's the whole point. It's meant to be. This is the happy ending. Everything's going smashingly, and it's always so good. And I love the fact they overplay that because usually I'd say that's cheesy, but he's obviously overplaying it on purpose to show, everything's going great now.
Yeah.
It's like his citizens, everything's fine.
Correct in Dr. Connor's class. Like,
Yeah, he's getting answers correct in the class. It's like, the police go by and it's like he just looks at them and takes this massive bite of a hot dog and turns around and walks away. Because I don't have to deal with that anymore and all this stuff. Yeah. And it's so much fun because it's like, because like you can do all this stuff now. And then you get the amazing conversation that ends up coming up later though with Aunt May, which apparently restores his powers. Because he starts being Spider-Man after that and never has an issue ever again.
Can I say that's probably when she finds out that he had a hand in not necessarily Uncle Ben's death, but the prevention of being able to find the killer. Like that entire exchange between him and Aunt May was like, that was heartbreaking. Like,
oh yeah,
it was like superbly good grief. It was done amazing by both of them, Tobey Maguire and I forgot her name, but the lady who plays Aunt May.
Oh, Rosemary. Let me pull it up again. Rosemary Harris, yeah. But yeah, she's so amazing good as Aunt May. I love her as Aunt May. She's so good, and like she has two amazing talks with him. She has that talk during the Spider-Man No More thing where he literally tells her like what happened to Uncle Ben and that he had this big fight with him, and he had a chance to stop the guy and he didn't, and that's what led to him being killed. And she just loves him.
Because that's not at the yard sale, right?
Yeah, you see her processing, you see her dealing with it, and like the fact that like that he might have had a hand in it, and she just loves him because it's like it's not your fault. You didn't do it.
Yeah.
You didn't do that, it's like you are so good. And then you see him talking to her out the back, in her backyard, and she goes into the whole big speech of like it's like the missing Spider-Man around, and at this point you're like, I'm sorry, like at this point during this talk, there is no way in the world she does not know he's Spider-Man.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, she clearly does. I'm like, either that or it's the most heavy-handed like lecture talk ever. And like she's clearly like, okay, you've had your time. We need Spider-Man back, and it's like, she's obviously worried about him and doesn't want him to do it, but like she's clearly like, she's almost shades of like the Into the Spider-Verse Aunt May, who's like completely on board with it. Like that's what she could have became. Like the Aunt May that's completely on board with helping him and keeping him safe.
Like making his costumes and stuff.
Yeah, I want to see that Aunt May in a live action one like that. That should be Aunt May in the comics. Do that with her.
But that I think what this movie does really well is just there's just a ton of complicated relationship stuff in the movie with all of the characters, all the main characters, and I think especially between Peter Parker and Aunt May, oh man, it's just so good.
Yeah. So he ends up getting the mask back on. He ends up going back out. what's his face? Harry ends up getting Doc Ock to go after him because Doc Ock needs stuff to power his machine. Harry can provide it, but he's like, bring me Peter Parker or bring me Spider-Man. So he goes after them. He goes after them to try and get it, and he brings Spider-Man to him.
I forgot, why does he want Spider-Man? Like at the end of the movie, does he just want to like kill him? I forgot.
Well, why does he want him at the end?
Oh no! I'm sorry. Never mind. I got it. Harry wanted Spider-Man.
The Harry one, he grabs Spider-Man. He takes him back to Harry, and it's not even a big build-up. Harry literally just whoom, mask off.
He drops the knife.
And has to deal with the fact it's Peter. And I've never to this day understood why Peter didn't tell him, your dad killed himself. I didn't do it.
Well, there's a lot of movies that do that. I'm like, dude, just tell him the truth.
Yeah,
like he's gonna do what he wants.
This isn't even talking about like in Spider-Man 3 when we get the Butler, who like how many years after Norman Osborn dies comes back and goes, I cleaned your father's wounds and he killed himself with his own glider. Like, you could have stopped all of this, you jackass, if you just told him this earlier.
Thanks a lot.
It's like, Alfred. But like, even then, like Peter Parker could literally have went, look Harry, I know this is hard to take in, but I fought your dad. He killed himself with his own glider.
Yeah.
He accidentally did it. It was no one's fault. We were fighting. I was trying to stop him, but he died. I was like, but I need to go after him.
Done. Yep.
And like that could have just changed everything. Like even in the third film, he doesn't do that, but the third film's got all its own issues.
Oh my gosh.
But like, so yeah, he goes after that, and then we get the whole like Doc Ock coming after them in the cafe scene and stuff as well.
So good.
It's like which is talked about. Lee talked about the dive, that iconic scene of the car coming through and him grabbing Mary Jane and ducking.
They pay homage to that in Spider-Man into the Spider-Verse.
Yeah,
in the intro.
It's so good. Which if you watch Into the Spider-Verse, the original Spider-Man that the original Peter Parker that dies, spoilers, but it's like 10 minutes into the movie, is very heavily hinted at to be this Spider-Man, like this version of Peter Parker, and that's what happens. So yeah, it's like that's awesome because it even references like the dance and stuff from like the third one and all that, so it's quite cool. But yeah, so like he ends up going after, he takes Mary Jane, which I love the fact he's meant to go after Peter Parker for information, and he throws Peter Parker with one of these things against a wall, and it's like, dude, you don't know he's Spider-Man. He's dead. You know what I mean? It's like, but like, so he goes after MJ, and like he then goes after him. They end up down at the docks, and where she's being held, and while he's trying to set off his whatever it is it's doing, the nuclear bomb that's going to give the new energy source or the MacGuffin. Yeah. But yeah, so he gets there, and that's when we get the other like mask reveals of like he reveals himself to MJ, not on purposely. Like the mask comes off and she sees it's him, and it's like thank goodness everything's explained.
She's been kind of putting it together like over the past 2 movies.
Yeah, she's been kind of getting an idea that something's going on, and that's kind of like
the upside down kiss, like that type of stuff.
Yeah,
it was kind of like a callback to that, and she was like,
it's like, so there's definitely stuff like that where she's been piecing it together, but she finally sees it, and the great moment where the building starts to collapse on her, and he just catches it.
Yeah.
And stuff, and then she goes to hide at the side, and he ends up going in after Doc Ock, and talks to him as Peter, and manages to get through to him, which I love. I love the fact it's not Spider-Man that wins the day. I love the fact it's Peter Parker connecting to Otto Octavius. It's not Spider-Man and Doc Ock at that point.
Yeah, I love that.
And
I love the ending of that movie.
Yeah, and it's like, and he tells him, and he ends up taking back control of the arms and like tearing the whole thing down and like sinking it into the water. It's like, it's so cool. It's such a good ending and such a good redemption arc for Otto as well.
I agree, because you see at the beginning of the movie, you see a kind, very intelligent scientist who just wants to help people, and at the end of that movie, you see the same person who just has, the tentacles and stuff.
Yeah, he forces his willpower through to take control of them.
Yeah, it's so good.
And then the end of the movie obviously wraps up with the wedding taking place, and the wedding doesn't happen because MJ runs away in her wedding dress and runs through a very sunny, shiny New York to get to Peter's apartment and basically tell him, like, I don't care if you don't think we should be together, I get to make my own choice, and wants to be with him, and they kiss and embrace, and then they hear the radio scanner. He jumps out the window and goes off, and then the shot kind of closes in on her, and we get that sad, forlorn look, like foreshadowing what's to come.
Yeah.
How do we feel then about Spider-Man 2?
It's probably one of my favorite Spider-Mans. I feel like Doc Ock is probably top 2 villains of any Spider-Man movie.
Oh yeah,
I think Vulture is probably number 1 for me from Spider-Man Homecoming, but Dr. Ock is so. I think his entire arc, his whole redemption arc, and him as a character, Alfred Molina playing him, the special effects, the CGI, everything about him, I think, even his interaction with other characters is just so good, and he poses such a real threat to Spider-Man. I love the movie. I love again. It is what it is. It's a campier version of Spider-Man, not as campy as the first one, which I think is why it's my favorite. That and Doc Ock.
yeah,
So
definitely an amazing movie. Absolutely love Spider-Man 2, and I mean we're pretty much almost like 20 years past these two movies, 20, 15
it's
years.
crazy. It's so crazy.
And these two still hold up. Like there's obviously stuff that
Yeah.
hasn't aged well, and the CG doesn't look great, but
Yeah.
overall, I'm like these movies actually still hold up solid. They hold up better than the Amazing Spider-Man movies. Let me put it that way.
Yes. Yeah, I agree.
Like I still like the first Amazing Spider-Man, but like definitely compared to these, like the Sam Raimi ones, like you get a new appreciation looking back on them 20 years later. You know.
Yeah. All right, are we doing this?
Do we need to? Do we need to do this?
All right, let me go first.
I don't want to relive this.
All right, did you want to just hit up the plot real quick of Spider-Man 3?
What?
So we can get this over.
Do we have time?
Oh, we don't have to go over the whole plot.
No, I'm saying it's like, do we have time? There's so many plots to it. There's like 15 plots in this movie. I'm like,
At a high level, they try to introduce way too many villains. The stakes don't really matter. The backstories are rubbish, and it ends up right where it started. How about that?
there you go, Spider-Man 3, everybody.
All right, so
Oh,
let me
this-
see,
Yeah, let's
let me start.
delve
Alright,
into this. Let's do it.
So this one was the one I was actually most excited about. Everyone knows who's been listening to this stream for any amount of time that I'm a huge Venom fan. I'm a huge Todd McFarlane and Mark Bagley Venom fan. I'm a huge Venom 2 to 3 times the size of Spider-Man fan. And I recently heard an interview that Todd McFarlane did with Collider, the YouTube channel Collider, and they were talking about his opinion or what he thought of Venom introduced into Sam Raimi, and he made some really good points, which is my thoughts exactly. Venom is meant to be a physical threat to Spider-Man, like an actual physical, as in size, threat.
Yeah.
Todd McFarlane even said, who was the one who helped create Venom, the Venom we know today, that in a one-on-one fight, Venom would probably beat Peter Parker.
Oh yeah.
That being said, Peter Parker's way smarter, so there's ways around that. But in a one-on-one, just pure strength, Venom would destroy Peter Parker.
Oh yeah. I mean, Venom's like a predator. He's
Yeah.
I
I remember when the trailer came out and it showed the scene of the bell tower at the bottom of the bell tower and Topher Grace falling on the ground and the Venom. I analyzed every freaking frame of that to like anticipate the Venom that I would see. And then we got the one that we saw.
was going to say, and how wrong were you? Because none of us could have imagined.
Oh, so the campiness that was in the first one that I was not a fan of was like at a 3 or 4 out of 10. Now, the Spider-Man 2 was at like a 2. Spider-Man 3 was at like a 48. It was just like through the roof, just way over the top. I think Topher Grace, Venom was why I was excited about this movie the most. No question about it. I wanted to see Venom live action, and
Yeah.
they seriously dropped the ball.
Yeah. So let's do that. Let's go through the villains because we've got a variety
Yeah.
of them. So yeah, starting with Venom. Like I remember talking to my friend Callum. I remember literally talking about this movie when it came out, and I still watched WWE Big Time, like wrestling in Big Time when this came out.
Mm-hmm.
And Brock Lesnar had just literally came on the scene in wrestling, and
That's-
literally we looked at each other and went like that. That's what Venom should look like in this movie.
Exactly.
Like
exactly.
that's the shape that Venom should be. Like Brock Lesnar, this massive muscle-bound guy. Like that's literally the shape he should be in. He should be that big, physical, imposing sort of character.
For all the hate that Venom movie gets, they got Venom look his size perfect.
At least he looked like Venom. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, and then you've got Topher Grace, who
Oh my gosh.
God love Topher Grace. 'Cause nobody else does.
It was the worst casting I think of anyone in any Spider-Man movie.
Yeah, like he was. It was so bad. Like even they play Eddie. Like, do you know who Eddie Brock is? He's this amazing complex character with such an amazing, rich backstory, you know, that you could have dove into,
Yeah.
from his Catholic upbringing to his abusive father to him, you know, his wife ends up leaving him because of all the crap that Spider-Man does. That's why he hates him so much for it.
Yeah.
You know, you could have dove so much into this build-up, and we get this wee wheedly guy who had a Spider-Man ruin his career because he photoshopped a Spider-Man picture of leaving the crime scene. Which, like, really? That doesn't even look real. It's like he photoshopped that and like, oh yeah, he's dating Gwen Stacy. But he's not dating. But he's not dating Gwen Stacy because she says we're not actually dating. We went out once.
Ads says Spider-Man 3 was an arrow to the heart. I had high hopes for Venom. I did too, man. I did too.
Literally,
Like
this
I said,
killed this franchise. Like, this was going to keep going. They were
Yeah.
planning the fourth one, and then this just bombed.
yeah,
And
I
it's
just
like
like
Topher
you
Grace
said,
was so bad at this role that he was not
and
meant
he's
for
a
this.
great actor. He was just so wrong on so many different aspects.
He was the wrong choice, and even the portrayal of Venom, I'm like, can I ask as well, like, why does he have to talk with his face showing once he has the symbiote?
With those nasty like pulled back.
Yeah, like, okay, he's got this
It's so
nasty like
bad.
thing. It comes back over his face anytime he
It's so
talks.
bad.
He like
It's
talks.
like pulling like
I think he says one thing while actually Venom, and that's when he's talking to Sandman, and like the last word of the sentence he says, the Venom face comes back over.
yeah.
Not to mention, why does he have fangs?
I know.
It comes
as
back.
Eddie Brock.
It comes
Yeah.
back, and Eddie Brock's got fangs, and I'm like, no, Venom's meant to have fangs. Yeah, Venom's meant to be big and scary. Eddie Brock doesn't have fangs. He's a human. Venom talks with this distorted voice. Like, that's something they got from the Venom movie as well. It's got
Yeah.
a good distorted voice on it. Like, that's what it's
Yeah.
meant to be, that Venom
Well,
voice
and
speaking.
and the symbiote is sentient. Obviously, it's sentient, so it can talk to the host, and that's I think one thing that Venom the movie does really well.
Yeah. It's like, so he was just a complete wrong choice. Not to mention the fact of, like, he was shoehorned in at the last minute. You know the studio wanted Venom in this movie. You know.
One thing I will say, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, I was just saying, you know they pushed for him to be in this movie, and it just, Sam Raimi obviously hadn't planned for him.
Yeah. One thing I will say is that I was looking up the credits on all three Spider-Mans, and I know, like, the studio gets a lot of flack for Spider-Man 3, but, I mean, Spider-Man 3 was the only one where Sam Raimi was the director and the writer. So he had more say on the third one than he did in the first two.
Yeah.
So
You know-
I definitely there's definitely blame on the studio's part, but I think there's some
Yeah.
culpability on Sam Raimi's part.
Oh yeah, I think there's definitely some culpability. He was in charge of it. I give it to the studio as well, though, just because we did see them recreate most of those issues in Amazing Spider-Man 2. They literally made the same mistakes,
Yeah.
you know. But yeah, so like Venom is there, and then him and Eddie are killed at the end. You know, spoilers.
Yeah.
I'll spoil it for you if you don't know it. Don't go watch it. It's not worth your time or your sanity.
They do. I mean, one cool callback is they do kind of separate Eddie and the symbiote with like sound.
Yeah, they do the sound wave
I
stuff.
thought-
They set that up great with the bell tower. They do the bell tower scene to separate
Yeah.
Peter and the symbiote, and then they separate them. Okay, can I bring this up because we're talking about the symbiote? I need to bring this up.
Should I start dancing and
Yeah.
wear my hair like all greasy and emo like?
No, I'm not even
hair
talking.
that-
I'm not even talking about that. Yeah, I'm not. Oh, that's a whole rant in itself for emo Peter. Can we just talk about the fact of like how far from the comics the suit went? The whole point of the alien symbiote, Peter gets it during a Secret Wars event. Obviously, they can't do that. The thing attaches to him and doesn't come off his body. It's a parasite. It's a symbiote, symbiosis. It has to live attached to something.
You mean it's not something that he can put in a trunk, take off? Is that what you're saying?
It stays attached to him. It corrupts his mind. That's why he starts getting darker. It's a suit unto itself. It doesn't attach to the suit. Because we see it climbing in the bed and climbing over his body.
Yeah.
And then, first of all, can I say how horrible that black suit is? Why is there still webbing on it?
Yeah, that's so.
Just
awful.
do the black suit.
Okay, that's one. Let me. Sorry, I know I'm gonna let you continue, but I'm not a huge fan of Sam Raimi's suit design. I will say that. I'm not a huge fan of the 3D webbing. There, I said it. We can continue. Sorry.
I'm okay with the original Spider-Man costume for it, but like the black one, why is there webbing on the black suit?
Yeah, doesn't make sense.
And then like when he gets home and stuff, he takes it off and puts it in the closet, and I'm like, That defeats the purpose of it taking over him. Why do you need a bell tower to get rid of it? Just make a new Spider-Man costume and throw that in the trash.
Should I wear the murder Spider-Man outfit or should I wear the patriotic one?
It's like you keep putting it on. It's like you can take off the outfit. Apparently that gets rid of it. Toss it. Like that makes no sense. And then like he goes to the bell tower and it comes off of him, but it comes off of him and he's naked. He's not wearing a Spider-Man suit.
Yeah.
And it's like, but it attached to the suit because you can take it. Did it just become a suit?
Ugh,
In which case, why don't you just put on the other suit? Like,
that goes to show you that they had no understanding of that entire like section. Of
it's only like
Spider-Man.
one of the biggest Spider-Man stories ever. Like you can't do research really. But yeah, like, I had to mention that because no one talks about that, and it bugs me so much.
That's a really good point. I never
it's
really
like
even
it's
thought about
corrupting his mind, and I'm like, why? He's not wearing it.
that. Yeah.
He took it off. Why is it still corrupting him? Why is he going about his emo Peter? He put the suit in the closet.
Yeah, I put in my notes one of the cons is the way that the symbiote was treated. They just didn't understand that whole thing. They didn't understand it, and they tried to shoehorn it, like you said, into the.
They had no clue what they were doing with that. Like you could easily have done that and still done the black suit and done it so well.
Yeah.
We'll get to emo Peter. That's a rant in itself. Let's go back to the villains. That's a whole other thing. That's not even a symbiote thing. That's just a what the hell were you thinking?
Yeah, it was so bad.
So let's talk about.
And Carnage will be in the house. I know. I'm super pumped about that.
Yep, Carnage will be in the house, played by Woody Harrelson. Did you ever think that would be the casting we'd be talking about?
I'm still holding out hope. Wasn't a huge fan of the clown wig at in the end credits of Venom, but we'll see how it happens.
We'll see how that goes. But yeah, so let's talk about New Goblin.
What do they call him? What do they call him? Proto Goblin? Is that his official name? Right?
It's like Proto Goblin or New Goblin or something.
I'm like, oh my gosh, it's just Harry
See,
Osborn.
as campy as the Green Goblin suit was in the first one, at least it looked like a Green Goblin. He looks like he's going snowboarding.
Yeah,
and he decided to steal some Shredder gauntlets and put them on his arms.
Shredder gauntlets, that's hilarious.
Like, literally, like these claws come out. Apart from that, he looks like he's about to go snowboarding.
Yeah, it's awful. And this ski goggles, really ski goggles.
Can we talk about the fact that
And
like
a paintball mask?
He's literally in the New Goblin is literally in the first 10 minutes, if that, and that's it. He comes back at the end for the whole finale, but like that's it. He's just like Doofy Harry that's got a concussion and can't remember anything and amnesia. It's like, and how did Peter Parker take him out? This epic CGI fight, because that's what we wanted, was a CGI fight between them. Like falling down the building, going through the side of the building and all this, and battering back and forth. How did Spider-Man take him out? A tripwire. He stuck a web across the alley, held the end. It literally made a ba-dung noise as he hit it. Like, and then he bounced off his stuff, and I'm like,
dude, how did he not die?
Oh, because he took. I was literally thinking about that. I'm like, he took Goblin stuff, and I'm like, Peter didn't know that though. You don't know he's taking Goblin serum. You just know he's on a glider. You just killed your former best friend.
Yeah.
You just downright murdered him. It's like he fell from that height. He bounced off of so many things. Hit the ground hard. I'm like, yeah, he dead.
Yeah.
Like, no wonder he had amnesia.
Yeah,
three concussions in the one move is like.
I don't have much to say about him. It was just awful. The one thing I will say is I'm a sucker for a good redemption story. So I did appreciate at the end how all three of them, because they've been in a relationship triangle of some shape, form since the first movie, and I appreciate how they kind of closed that up.
That's why I wish that had been more of a focus for it. Like, if you want to include Sandman in bits, still, yeah, because we could at least have Peter going off the rails with it. But like, include the Harry stuff, because like that's been the story. The story has been Peter, Harry, and Mary Jane for the 3 movies.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, so he doesn't get his memories back. Mary Jane's starting to feel the whole abandonment stuff that Peter was kind of feeling left out in the first movies, because now Spider-Man's getting celebrated. He even does like the upside down kiss.
Yeah.
Like with Gwen Stacy.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Which of course she's mad at, and like he's at the point where he's going to propose, and I'm like, Peter is like literally, without even having the black suit, Peter is either the most naive man in the world, or one of the biggest douches in superhero movies.
Yeah.
Like, he did that kiss, and then I was literally going to go and propose to her.
Yeah.
And it's like, really? Like, you don't
Did you
see
not think that one through?
that wasn't even like a case like, oh, you kissed another woman. It's like, no, you did your kiss, your
You did
first
our
kiss with
kiss.
Mary Jane, the
Yeah.
upside down kiss with Bryce Dallas Howard. Is like with Gwen Stacy. Is like, really, dude, you were going to
Yeah.
get engaged, you were going to propose to her after that, and like she obviously then starts feeling that left to the side because he keeps going off to be Spider-Man and is very focused on that and like doesn't feel like he's listening to her problems, so she starts to go back to Harry. We get a little bit of him, like Goofy Harry is like one of the comedy things of this movie of
Like so good where he's eating the pie. He's eating the pie. It's like so good.
it's so good. This big goofy grin
My
like the
God.
whole movie is like, oh my goodness.
He has a great smile. I mean, I'll
It's
give
like,
him that.
on yourself, James Franco, because you made that work as best as you could, man. Good for you. And they obviously are making stuff. They kiss. She runs off, and then Harry gets his memories back. Dun dun dun.
Yeah.
And I love the criticism of like that. Basically, I'm going to go after him unless you break up with him and do all this horrible stuff. So she goes and breaks up with him on the bridge, and it's like, I love like literally everybody says the same thing. Like, you could literally go up to him in that bridge. He doesn't have a mic on you. He can't hear what you're saying. And literally go, yeah, by the way, Harry's like got his memories back. He's evil. He's told me that I have to come and break up with you. He's hiding in the bushes over there if you want to go and kick his ass.
That's a good point. I didn't even think about
And it's
that.
like, there's literally no. He doesn't even have like a wire on, or like he's not even listening in. I'm like, wow,
That's
you're way
funny.
too trusting, Harry, that she's going to just not tell Spider-Man that you've got your memories back, and the fight goes on. Like,
It's like just say I'm gonna slap you right now just to make it look extra real and just run away crying like you're really good at.
yeah, like just like there's literally no reason for that breakup. There's no reason for it there except to get another Tobey Maguire meme.
Oh my god. So bad.
The tears like streaming down the face, and I'm like,
I
really?
feel like I feel like they had like 23 different writers in the room, and they each took a like a 28th of their script and like
It just merged it
pasted
together.
it together.
Can I also say how stupid it is, by the way. Like, he goes to talk to Harry in like a coffee shop and tell him about the breakup and stuff, and he tells him like, I'm the other man, I'm the other man in
Yeah.
this, and he walks out across the street, and then for no reason decides to stop and turn and look at him, and Harry just like looks around and gives him that. And then they literally do it. A bus goes by, and he's gone.
Yeah.
How?
Yeah. I don't know.
You're in a coffee shop. Watch the guy in the background. Like, when Harry disappears, there's like a dude in the background. Watch him like looking like, what did that dude just hide for? Why is that dude like lying on the floor and crawling away? It's like literally, it's like the dude is like, I never noticed it until someone pointed it out, and I'm like, the dude is literally looking like, what's he doing? Like,
Oh my
because
gosh.
how did
I
he
gotta
get
look
away?
it up.
Like, did he just like run behind a wall or like run for the back door? I'm like, you're in a coffee shop. It's not like you can just disappear. You're not outside doing it. You're not freaking Michael Myers. You know what I mean?
That's so funny.
So yeah, we've got that, and then
The Sandman.
like we get Sam Raimi. Sam Raimi, no, that's the director. What am I talking about? We get Peter Parker, like, is emo Peter Spider-Man, coming to the apartment and
I feel like
beating the
people are
crap out of
probably-
Harry and blowing him up. Because he literally just, I love the fact at this point of like, you realise how much he was holding back during that first fight. Like, he literally wrecks Harry. He throws him through like glass shells and all this stuff. Throws a goblin bomb at him, pumpkin bomb at him, and he literally just webs it and swings it back and blows Harry up.
blows half his face off.
And then like and then he leaves, and it's like, and then the butler decides to come in and do his whole redemption arc and go, I cleaned the wounds on your father. I removed the glider from him. Couldn't you have done this like at the end of the first movie, start of the second movie, like?
And he's like, you do realize Peter Parker just tried to murder me, right?
Yeah, it's like,
You couldn't have said that before that happened.
you couldn't have said that before. Like, I tried to like ruin my best friend's life and like have him murder me and like all this crap that's happened. Like, literally is literally the butler's fault. Their relationship has fallen apart for the last 2 movies. But he then obviously goes and he helps Peter, and it's a really cool kind of team up point. I really like it. The Proto Goblin teaming up with Spider-Man. I think it's a really cool scene, to be honest, that the two of them fighting Venom and Sandman. It's cool scene.
Yeah, I do like that.
It's cool seeing Harry's redemption and him and Peter teaming up, and then
Yep.
obviously it ends in the sad ending that's meant to happen. It ends up in Harry's death, which is like, of course it does, because it's kind of like it ties the nail on that, ties a bow on that, and like that's the end of that story arc.
Yeah.
So Sandman.
All right. So I remember, for those of you who grew up in the 90s, I remember the Spider-Man animated show. And I remember Sandman on that show, and I feel like they did a really good job aesthetically of showing
They
Sandman.
literally found a dude that looked like Flint Marko.
Yeah,
Like, you hold him
it,
up
it was
against, like,
perfect.
pictures of Sandman, like, it literally looks like him.
It was perfect. That being said, what a shoehorned piece of plot into a movie to just progress a visual villain.
Do you know
That's
why?
all
Do
that was.
you know why he's in? He's there for like the visual effects, and he's also there because it means that Spider-Man can go like R-rated violence without actually like bloodying and
How
murdering someone.
he shoved his face into the side
Because
of
he
the
shoves
train
his
and
face into
basically,
the side of the train, you see all the like the sand shaking away, and then like when he
yeah,
literally floods Sandman and it looks like he kills him.
yeah.
It's like,
We're
what?
gonna
We need to have him like going dark, but we're also like PG, so we can't have him go that dark.
all right. So he breaks out of prison. He's legitimately wearing the Sandman uniform in prison, the striped shirt or whatever. And he mysteriously finds this scientific experiment in the middle of nowhere and falls into a pit, and happens to get
Oh, I love
infused
the
with sand.
scientists in that as well. Oh, there's a new mass in there. It's probably just a bird that'll fly away. It's like, maybe we should check that before we turn on the dangerous machine.
Yeah, maybe there's a human-sized something in there. How about
It's like
that?
that. It's like it's probably just a bird that'll fly away. Like, will it really cost you that much time if you take 2 minutes to send a guard over to go
Can
and
we
have a
put the
look and
game on
go,
pause just for
"Hey,
a
dude,
second?
there's a guy in here."
Do we have any lights on the machine?
Yeah, like, do we have a camera on it, like watching what? Because they're looking at like stuff. Like, do you not
Oh
have a
my
camera
god.
on it that's watching what's going on? Like something, check it. Something went in there that's not meant to be in there, and I'm like, yeah, because you know how scientists are very like that. They go very willy nilly and just half-ass stuff. They just, they don't check. They're not very precise with their stuff. They just go, it'll be fine. That's how all scientists operate. Didn't you know that?
Gosh.
It's like, oh my
That's so bad.
goodness. It's like
So
every
bad,
single
man.
man in that room that helped that experiment. Like, you're responsible for Sandman. Every one
He
of
just
you.
committed murder. Yeah.
Like, every one of you have just murdered a human. Although I do have to say, when he wakes up from that and he starts pulling himself together,
Dude, that's so
it's
cool.
one of the best scenes in the
So cool.
movie. Like, seeing him
Like,
just like reforming himself and trying to pull himself back together and like function and find out what's going on. He grabs for the
that's what I'm
locket.
saying.
He grabs for the locket and his hand goes like through. It goes through his
Yeah.
hand and he drags. It's like, it's so cool. Can I
Well,
mention
that's
that?
what I'm saying.
Can I mention that locket, by the way, just quickly?
Mhm.
That locket's got a picture of his daughter, right?
Mhm.
He gets it from his daughter. What kid carries around a locket of
Of
themselves?
himself.
I seen it again. I watched a like
Oh,
someone
that's
talking about
funny.
it to get up to date with everything again, like someone reviewing it a little bit, so I could like
Yeah.
refresh myself. And they mentioned that, like, I never thought about that. He gets that from his daughter. I'm like, is that something like he gave you when he went to prison? Maybe.
Normal kids don't have
Why do you have a
lockets.
locket of your own picture? Like, it's a bit weird, but
Yeah.
yeah, but that's a
I will
beautiful
agree.
scene, though.
I think the aesthetics of Sandman are amazing.
Yeah, the effects are
But I
really
think
cool.
he's one of the most unnecessary aspects to any Spider-Man movie
He
ever.
could have got a movie to himself. Like, you could have really fleshed out Flint Marko and done something cool with that character. I honestly feel like there was enough there of like that could have been built to something.
Yeah.
Like, literally, like, you could have, like, I'd have loved to have seen like the Proto Goblin in 3 and then in 4 do the black suit arriving
Yeah.
and do like the him and Flint Marko, so you can do the him going dark if you want and like build that into a whole movie and then lead into the 5th one being Venom.
It's like I feel like they were like, all right, we have 100% that we can devote towards a villain. All right. So why don't we just have 4 villains and we do 25% to all of them?
Yeah.
Because that makes sense.
Yeah,
We'll do
because
them 25% good.
why not? That's never going to go horribly wrong.
We can do one villain 100%, or we can do 4 villains 25%. Yeah, let's do that.
Can
That
I
sounds good.
can I spin it as well? Like, he's an escaped convict, right? Right at the end of that movie, like, he's an escaped convict who teams up with Venom. Like, he's doing the whole thing. He's a father that's trying to get money. He just wants to get money for his daughter to get an operation. That's why he was put in prison. That's why he tried to steal money when Spider-Man first fights him. All that stuff, all that jazz. He then purposefully teams up with Venom to stop Spider-Man in the hopes of getting that money, and it's like, okay, that's a pretty crappy thing to do, because like, you're watching this dude literally kidnap a woman and threaten her life. You're trying
Yeah.
to steal stuff to help your daughter, and like, you're willingly going along with this.
Yeah.
You're not that good of a guy. And then right at the end, Peter just lets him blow away in the wind. And it's meant to be like it's almost like it's a symbolic thing of like, oh, he's dying. Like, no, we've seen him do this before. He can reconstitute himself. He's turned to sand before. Like,
Dirt.
he's going elsewhere. Like, why are you just letting him walk away or
Yeah.
float away? And it's like we never go back to it. And I'm like,
Yeah, they could have done so. One of the cool things I thought they did was when he got into the water and he kind of dissipated and he
yeah,
reconstituted, like you
that is
said.
I do like that fight scene, like with
Yes.
Spider-Man and him and the train and the underground train station. Like, it's so cool because like just seeing them fighting there, fighting between the trains. And don't get me wrong, the CGI is a bit iffy now, but to be fair, it was like over 10 years ago. So,
Yeah.
it came out in like 2007, so a year before Iron Man, you know. But yeah, it's like even like the fight and him pushing him against the train, and then like he floods him and realizes he can't hold his body together, and drowns him out in the ocean, and it's like it looks like that's the end of Sandman. It's such a cool fight.
Yeah. Really
I
cool.
do enjoy that.
It reminded me again of the animated Spider-Man show where I think at one point like he somehow mixed cement, or that might have been Hydro Man. He mixed cement with the sand or somehow, and he like petrified Sandman to actually stop him.
I think I remember that. Yeah.
That's like really cool. Like they just could have done a lot of cool things.
Oh yeah, they could have done a ton of stuff with that. All right, as we're pushing on in time, let's get into this. There's superfluous characters such as Captain Stacy and Gwen Stacy who don't need to be in this. There's superfluous villains. There's a black suit that he can take off, although it's corrupting him for no reason. But you all know what we're going to talk about next. I need to get it to one
I
side.
need you to get the hair grease, dude. Get the hair grease. There we go.
I'm going to say it's like
There you
hair grease. Like, I should have just not washed my hair. I shouldn't have had a shower.
I would
today.
do it. I would do it, but I can't.
I had a shower today. I shouldn't have had a shower and left it greasy and just let one side, Because we get...
Oh, man, it's so bad.
How do you tell that someone is becoming evil?
Well, they have dark circles around their eye. Okay?
Dark circles in their eye.
Their hair gets darker magically somehow.
Yeah, his hair for some
And
reason
it
went
gets a lot
black, although at no point did he... Yeah, I'm going to do this. There we go.
And it gets a lot greasier.
It gets
Did you know
greasy.
that when you turn evil, your hair gets greasier? You didn't know that, did you? Well, you do
I know.
know. You do now.
Yeah, you do now, and it's like, and it automatically
And
turns
you
black even though you don't dye it, and
You spontaneously dance as well when you come out of
with
doors,
you have to put the
in
collar
public.
up. You have to get the 80s like, or not even 80s, like 50s like villain with like the collar up on the jacket and the.
And also, you shoot guns at people.
Which I love the fact I saw somebody talking about that scene, and I'm like, I love the fact that even they don't know what they're doing with that scene, because if you watch the women's faces, they change every shot. Like the first set of women are looking at him like, ugh. Then the next set of women look at him like they're really into it and really turned on by him being like that. And then the next set of them look at him again like he's an idiot, and I'm like, you can't even decide if this is cool or not.
It's so bad. Like, I don't understand how that got into production. the whole scene with him and Gwen Stacy. Is it Gwen Stacy when he's dancing? On the chair and
Because he
stuff?
goes to because Mary Jane loses her job. That's one of the big things in this one, that she feels like Peter's not listening to her. She loses her Broadway job that she had, and she ends up as a jazz singer and waitress at this little club. So he starts dating Gwen Stacy, as you do, and then he goes and takes her to this bar because why not, to rub it in my ex-girlfriend, and then doom.
The snap. I forgot about the snap. That's the best part. Oh,
It's like the
that's the best
snap,
part.
it's like there's all this stuff with the chair, like the standing on it and flips
That was
it
the
and-
first snap in Marvel MCU. That
Yeah,
was the
something.
first snap.
You have to get that like a 50s
The
greaser
proto
snap going on. It's like
It's actually called the proto snap, if you will.
pro snap. It's like
Oh,
it's
man, I'm gonna
so
trademark that.
It's the most like hokey thing in any of these movies. Is this
so bad.
dance scene, like, because Emo Peter's introduction and like the whole down the street thing is like, it's ridiculous.
Everything is ridiculous. It's so over the top.
And you see him like acting like a jackass and stuff. Like he starts using like the girl that lives across the landing for him, but then also treats her and her father horribly and all this stuff. And it all culminates in this dance scene.
So there's like levels of campiness, right? There's like levels of over the top. There's like a subtle like campiness over the top that I feel like the first two Spider-Mans kind of weave in and out of.
Yeah, like
Then there's a
every
there's a,
superhero
like-
movie has a level of campiness to it
Yeah.
because that's the world we're in. It's comic books. It's okay.
There's also an over the top that like, okay, that's too much. Like, one, you need to pull it back a bit. All right. But then there's an over the top that's even past that where like they are taking themselves so seriously that they want to subvert the campiness of the campy movie, and it's just like,
It's like, do you know what the thing that scares me is? Like, this movie was made, and it went through,
period,
and
period,
yeah, period, and it went through people that are meant to check stuff,
and they approved it.
and somebody watched this and didn't go, "What the heck are you made?"
It's like there's a Brian Regan who's a comedian. There's a skit where he's talking about serving sizes on containers, and he's talking about ice cream. A serving size is a cup. He's like, we're gonna put it out like this, We're this going out to production.
Yeah,
Like, I don't understand that. Yeah.
it's absolutely crazy. Like, the dance scene is so over the top and it even kicks off weird. Like, he goes in, he sits at the table. She doesn't notice him at first, and Mary Jane's called up to the stage to sing. She starts to sing, and doesn't see him come up onto the stage. Goodness knows,
playing piano.
goodness knows what happened to the pianist, because there was somebody at that piano that is no longer there. So either he's just shoved him at the road, he's knocked him out, or something, and he starts playing this like amazing like jazz piano, and they're like out of nowhere, and then does this weird like jazz salsa number where he brings like Gwen up onto the floor and like starts dancing with her and doing this big sexy dance because he's trying to make Mary Jane jealous. Which of course rubs both women the wrong way, because like at the end of the dance, Gwen Stacy ends up leaving because he's like, was that all for her?
I feel like
it's so ridiculous, and then they try to cap it off with a really serious moment.
Yeah.
Because he slaps Mary Jane, and that's like his moment.
God.
That's like his moment of, oh my goodness,
Oh, crap.
I've gone too far. I need to get rid of this suit.
Yeah.
Which that's a great scene for that, of like realizing that's the line he stepped, of realizing how far he's gone. That he's not just rubbing this in her face; he's literally slapped her.
Yeah.
And I'm like, but that scene trying to go into that, I'm like, no.
All right. So if Sam Raimi was not wholly responsible for this awful mess of a movie, I feel like this was his attempt at just middle fingering everybody who was involved.
Oh, absolutely.
That whole emo Peter thing was just his middle finger to everybody.
I honestly think he was involved in that, and I think that I wonder how much of that was the studio, or how much of that was him saying "screw you" to the studio because they kept getting involved. It was like, you know what, I am going to.
Over the top.
It's like, if you will not let me make the movies that I'm making and want to get involved, I am just going to give you a middle finger, and I am going to screw this franchise royally.
That's what I'm saying. I feel like it was so over the top that there was no way they could not have known how that would have been portrayed.
Yeah.
There's no way they couldn't have known. So I feel like he was like, you know what? If you guys want this, then here you go. Middle finger.
It's still so bad. It didn't hold up at the time. I remember coming out of that movie theater being mad. I was furious with this movie that they had screwed up, because I love the first two, and that, as I said, I still love the first two. They hold up really well. There's tons of superhero movies that do not hold up, and in an era when we've got the MCU, the DCEU, superheroes in TV, superhero and streaming stuff, there's comic book stuff everywhere. The first two Spider-Man movies still hold up, 100%. This did not hold up by the time I was leaving the theater, let alone like 12 years later, 13 years later. It just, no.
Yeah, it was awful. It's just so bad on so many different levels. I just remember when he bursted out of that wherever he was and started dancing in the entrance of that store. I remember thinking, like, is this real? Is this for real? Like, are they really doing this right now? Are they really doing Saturday
watching
Night
it like
Fever?
like what the heck are you doing? Like,
are they really doing Saturday Night Fever right now? Like, I don't understand what's going on.
I know, it's absolutely nuts. It's absolutely crazy. But yeah, so final thoughts on Spider-Man 3.
It should not exist. How about that?
Yeah, pretty much.
But like I said, it was definitely the one I was looking forward to the most because of Venom. And I was just so disappointed. They had cool plans for a fourth one, based off what I've been reading with Sinister Six and Vulture and Mysterio and Black Cat and all that stuff. But
yeah, they had some good ideas and stuff. They had some stuff.
They just ran this one into the ground, man. It's like they were going 45 miles an hour on a freeway, and they asked their son to take the wheel and jerk it hard right, and they flipped the car.
It went horribly, and it's like, this could have kept going. They could have honestly done some great stuff with this franchise, and then part of that, I think, is why people weren't ready for Amazing Spider-Man when it came out, was because they had 5 years to make something. No one was ready for a reboot of that yet.
Yeah.
You know, that means within a decade we'd had 2 origin movies for Spider-Man, and it just...
But I feel like you and I are on the same page with the first two, almost with everyone, as the first two are probably some of the best Spider-Man movies ever.
Oh yeah, they hold up beautifully. They're still phenomenal movies. It's like, I love them.
Yeah.
They're great.
Yeah, but Spider-Man 3 should not exist.
Definitely. Alright guys, I think that's kind of it for the show this week. There was a bit of news I did want to talk about at the start, and I'll be honest, it completely slipped my mind, so I want to kind of toss it in at the end here if it's okay. Was literally the fact that there's been a massive stuff kind of going on with all the Speak Out movement, and I just want to share something in chat. If I can pull up the right thing. No, that's not the right thing, Paul. Where did you put it? Let's see. I'm going to put up there's been a lot of female streamers speaking out about horrible things going on. As we're part of the streaming community now here on Twitch, I did want to share a few links to a couple of female streamers that I am friends with, that I follow, that I enjoy, and just throw them up in chat. Go ahead and check out some of these amazing women. Go ahead and give them a follow. And there's been a whole lot of stuff of people speaking out and streamers getting banned because of horrible stuff that's been going on. Character limit is too much, of course it is. Character limit is 500. Alright. Well, it's not letting me post it in the chat here, but I'm going to go ahead and throw it up on social media. I'm going to shout out to some of these women. Go ahead and follow their channels. Because I want to show that, you know what, here as we are supporting like the Black Lives Matter movement, we're also supporting these amazing women who deal with stuff in chat that, like, literally hearing some of the stories when they were talking, we're never going to deal with. So I just wanted to make that aware, guys. Go and show these women some love. Go and be respectful in these chats. Don't be one of the jackasses. I know you're not. You're an amazing part of our community. Just keep that going. So I just want to throw that in there as well. I meant to mention it at the start. Apologies for not mentioning that. I don't mean to cap off the episode like that, but I wanted to at least mention. So look out for that on social media. I'm going to throw some of those links up. Also, how do we feel about doing a raid? Shall we go and raid someone?
Sure, let's do it.
Let's see, who is available on Twitch right now? Who should we go raid? Try to raid someone different than Behaving Beardly and Good Kid Dad, although go and follow them if you're not already. They're awesome guys. Let's raid Winkari. He's a good friend of mine. Alright guys, I'm going to put up the closing out thing. Have an amazing day, guys. Hope you all have an amazing Sunday. We will see you all next week. We are going to be continuing or look at the early 2000 episode movies of superheroes. Next week's going to be kind of a mix of everything, because the other big series I want to give actual episodes to, so this is going to be the mixture of stuff next week. So I think we're going to look at stuff like the Fantastic Four movies, Ghost Rider, maybe even throw in Blade, because although he was late 90s, he's still part of this sort of movement. So we're going to have a look at that sort of stuff. Superman Returns, these other like ones there that weren't part of massive franchises. Alright, but you guys have an amazing day. You take care, and we'll see you all again next week.
You guys.